He's coming up. Out. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the Chismic Minute. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. 2025. Ralph, good to see you again. Dove, good to see you again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was thinking back. I was like, Dove. I was saying, I haven't seen him in 10 years.
Dove went to New York. I developed a small private equity operation. I began real estate, really. I built a 26
we were on
units in Brooklyn.
stage at Irvine. I think the last time we were together.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times with you.
Yes.
You're not easy to keep up with. Yeah.
No, but I remember Dove, not you are, but I remember thinking, oh, he feels right at home on stage.
Yeah.
And then when I saw you were coming on the show, I did this. I like Dove. Yeah. And then I thought, I haven't seen him in over a decade.
Well, he is very forgettable.
What happened?
I'm telling you, I checked out. I went to New York when social media got hot, and I've always stayed in stand-up. I'm still out headlining. I was doing a cop show. I was playing a detective on NBC, and I started developing real estate. I owned apartment buildings in Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah.
And then a bunch of guys from Guatemala took it over and started eating the cats and the pigeons.
Yeah, exactly. They were barbecuing hounds on the front lawn.
You always did stand-up, but you diversified.
Yeah, in a sense, right? I was doing stand-up. I was on the road, and then I was back in New York. I lucked into an apartment building situation. I sold it for a lot of money, and I had enough to go and buy a piece of land and develop 26 units. And so it took me out of the game for a little while, and I don't...
Where'd you develop the 26 units?
In Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
570 Nostrand Avenue, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
I love building, man. We could talk building.
We could talk about it at some point. We could talk about deregulation and hopefully get some of this permitting process streamlined so we can fucking get something done in this country.
Easy.
I'm so with you that people don't understand any of this stuff.
It's one of the biggest impediments facing our country.
Okay. We're trying to build a high-speed rail here, right? Yeah. We're going from Bakersfield to Merced.
Yeah.
Now, listen, the people who aren't from around here, you're saying, where's Bakersfield and Merced?
Sure.
The people who are from around here are saying, where's Bakersfield?
Everybody said it.
Because everyone's saying, there's people who live in Merced who are going, where's Bakersfield?
Yes.
And people live in Bakersfield going, where the fuck's Merced?
Yes.
It is going to link a part of this state that never needed to be linked.
You haven't mentioned the second most offensive part, which is that it's cost billions of dollars.
$80 billion over.
$80 billion. In China, they've developed a very similar railway for 1/10 of the cost that is 10 times as long.
Okay, we're never going to stop. This train's going to keep a rolling all night long.
Okay.
Because the first things first, I grew up here. Mm-hmm. I go to the Bay Area all the time. Mm-hmm. All those car pictures I was showing you, that's all Laguna Seca.
Understood.
That's all in the Bay Area. Yep. That's where the racetrack is. I go up twice a year and do races. No one has ever sat in Los Angeles and went, how am I going to get to San Francisco? I know not how.
Not one person.
There's a Southwest flight that leaves Burbank Airport every 51 minutes.
There
you can get
highways.
You go to Oakland. You can go to San Jose. You can go to San Francisco.
Yep.
You can go anywhere you want, or you can just get in your car and point it that direction, and you'll be there in 5 hours. Nobody in recorded history has ever been in Bakersfield and said, how are we getting to Merced?
It's a Kafka
It's never
novel.
come up.
It's like a Franz Kafka novel.
Yes.
The level of waste and corruption inherent in these schemes is incredible.
What is the reasoning that they're even doing it? Is there a reason?
All right. I got a million thoughts because this is all, as we explore this colossal boondoggle and waste of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And, money that could have gone over here or
but
to
there is
fix
a
over
front-facing narrative that they sold to the public.
Yes.
What was that?
I will do it. But first, let's just set against the backdrop of me waking up in Malibu this morning and learning that we're in a high wind situation, and winds mean fire. 3.5 weeks ago, we were all evacuated from Malibu, not to return, by the way, for days. I slept at Dr. Drew's house.
Incredible.
Nobody spoons like Drew.
Nobody spoons.
Nobody
like Drew.
spoons
That's
like
right.
a doctor.
That's right. Very few guys put on a condom to spoon, but Dr. Drew is one of those guys.
But in my defense, you haven't slept with Dove for the last 3 days out here in California.
Wow, I was kind of setting the table for that, but thanks for broaching it, Ralph.
It's bananas. It's bananas. What's
All right,
going
so
on?
but let me just against the backdrop of 3.5 weeks ago, it got windy. When it gets windy, Malibu catches on fire.
Correct.
The most expensive real estate almost in the world. Almost, I mean, there are routinely places down along PCH against the ocean that are $80 to $100 million.
Correct.
I've seen them built. In that environment, we cannot prevent this. When it gets windy, Malibu catches on fire. We might as well just be sort of native tribesmen at this point. Like, we are at the whims of the wind god. I don't mean 100-mile-an-hour winds. I mean anything over 30 miles an hour. Malibu catches on fire. I get up this morning and go, it's going to be wind. Are we going to have another fucking fire in Malibu? Yeah, well, you know what happens. It gets windy and then knocks the power poles over, and then the power lines catch on fire. And then I'm leaving the Palisades this morning. It's 10:30 in the morning. I walk out of the gym. I smell smoke. I see ash in the air. I look up in the fucking hill.
We saw it. We saw it from. We went to
Palisades are on fire. It only took an hour and 45 minutes for the Palisades
to hit the Palisades
to catch on fire. And there's fire trucks blasting down PCH, cop cars everywhere. Now I just got the notice from my girlfriend that we're evacuating. They're evacuating. It's 2025.
You have the same weather-related liabilities as Plains Indians in Malibu.
That's right.
It's bananas.
There's nothing we can do. And they go, well, what's the problem? They go, well, these power lines, they're on these old poles. The system is so old.
What do we do?
What do we do? How about we bury them? How about we put them in conduit and we put them in the ground? And then I start going
at the very
nuts.
least, a new pole.
The pole is from, first off, the same pole from 1877 that you saw on the streets of the western town. It's just a piece of pole. It's dunked in creosote, by the way, which is just like tar, and just pile driven into the ground all the way up and down PCH. You see them all lined all through the hills. I'm like, what if we took a little of that money,
your tax base,
to get from the one that was going to get me from Bakersfield to Merced, which no human being I know will ever be impacted by.
The billions you spent to get from Bakersfield to Merced.
How about we bury the power lines
and put it in the most
Malibu
expensive neighborhood on earth
doesn't have to catch on fire when it gets windy? It's not like, well, when the volcano goes off, there's nothing we can. No, it's nothing. It's windy.
Yes,
it gets windy, and then I didn't make it till noon, and I'm driving to work, seeing huge plumes of smoke going, oh, great, Malibu's on fire.
It's maddening, and that's a microcosm for what's going on in government for generations. I mean, hence the argument for Bitcoin, but the idea of some scarce, desirable asset apart from the whims of politicians and central banks. But anyway.
Yes.
But I would say, let me argue this.
And I will tell you what the argument was.
But does Bitcoin take away from the corruption that's happening? It doesn't,
Sure it does. It's independent.
Not to the government. If they still, let me ask you this. Just go back to what was the actual selling point?
The selling point, and it's always the selling point for California. We are going to lead the way.
Yeah.
We're going to lead the way. We got programs.
Yeah, right.
We give out heroin and clean needles to junkies because we're progressive. Like, we lead the way. We have injection zones.
You're leading the way of people leaving the state as well. You're leading the way there.
We're leading the U-Haul way, too. But
U-Haul's doing great.
We do super progressive shit. What we'll do is we'll do community policing. We'll defund the police. We'll have community ambassadors, and then we'll have zones that are safe to inject
give Ralph
in.
a nightstick and have him walk around somewhere.
We'll put heroin in vending machines, and we'll give out free housing to and we're a sanctuary city. All are welcome here. So we go, we lead, but what we don't realize is we're going the wrong direction.
Just to go to the train, how are they supposed to recoup a train system that no one's...
Oh, they're never...
Who's worried about recouping?
No
You're so progressive. There's no sense in recouping. You're too progressive for a recoup.
What they're saying...
Recoup means real economics.
Here's what I would say. Here's what they say. Okay, if I was them...
Yeah, I want to hear that argument from that side.
Look, I've been to Asia. I've been to Strudeldorf. I've been to these. They all have bullet trains over there. We don't have anything.
But they use
We
it.
don't have anything
Europe,
like
they
that.
use it.
We're these advanced civilizations, Tokyo and Europe and stuff. They have this thing. We don't. So
Right.
we're lagging. So the first thing is we're lagging. Except for we have Southwest and minivans. So
Yeah, we have
I don't-
airplanes
and
that work
we have
real well,
highways
and highways.
shit. But okay, so they first start with this. In Europe.
Yes.
In Asia.
You know what's going on
they
there?
have a thing.
Yeah.
They have
We
a
got-
thing.
and we gotta put one in Bakersfield.
So that's what they do. Oh, no. Here's,
Yeah.
you're not listening. We're going to do it in sections. First, we're going to link.
Yeah.
We're set because there's a lot of land there. We can get that land. We'll go there. But eventually, you're going to jump into a bullet train in San Diego.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit down for 20 minutes and the door's going to open. You're going to be in San Francisco, my friend. That's where we're going to link them. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because in Europe, they've had these. In Asia, they've had these things since the 60s. They go 300 miles
300 miles an hour.
And everyone loves them.
Yeah.
And they move. And it's low impact for environmental. Gets all the cars off the
And
road.
it's only going to cost $10 trillion, and you're going to have to reroute part of that track around a protected frog species.
Right. Well, then the regulation kicks in, and that's why we can't do it. And the guy who was in charge of it, after, I don't know, 5 years, he just went, oh, fuck this. I can't do it anymore.
I've been trying to explain this to this communist for many
So
moons
he went, I
now.
can't argue with anyone else from the Coastal Commission or any of these progressive bitches
saw what they did
from
to
the
us,
whatever.
the Coastal Commission,
Yes,
with the rockets.
right.
So
they
where
went-
is it now,
He
though?
moved. He went to Africa.
No, not him. How far
Hold
along
on.
is the
That
train?
guy went to Africa and built the entire bullet train line
Bang.
in 18 months.
Yeah.
And the next 4 guys dropped out because they go, we can't deal with the regulation.
I
and
sold
then
my
Jane
apartment
Fonda
building in New York and got
shows
the
up.
fuck out.
Jane Fonda shows up on Bill Maher and she's like, I like What are you talking about
course.
regulation? It's a good thing. It's like, no, it's stifling.
Well, Dov and I have been talking about this a lot lately, which is that I think you need some regulation.
Yeah, you
not
need sensible
no
regulation. It's
But
absurd.
it's not. We need sensible regulation. Yeah.
we don't need stifling
Right. I'm saying, but we
regulation.
need some sort of
Every-
regulation.
I know, but
Nobody's
listen,
arguing that. It's a red herring.
don't make that argument
You can't
because
make it.
everyone does that all the time. They go, we
need
need
to
some
deregulate this shit.
Yes, we
It's
need
bananas.
to deregulate the shit.
Of course you
Right.
need cops. Of course you need some regulation.
Agreed.
This
Yes.
communist keeps arguing.
No, we need some.
You know,
We
my
have-
name is Ralph Communist.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, now, Dawson, you can find Jane Fonda talking to Bill Maher about it. It's a problem.
Oh, I'm sure.
Here's the problem.
I'm sure it's brass tacks
The
thinking.
people who don't build anything or do anything love regulation.
Yeah, they're called bureaucrats.
Right.
Yeah.
And they go in every day with new ideas about new regulations.
New regs,
because that's
baby.
that's all they do because
It's an organism that needs to feed itself. They're not going to put themselves out of business, so they keep regulating.
I used to say this all the time. I go, if you took beavers and put them on top of the Empire State Building, they would start looking for wood to build
Looking
a dam.
for wood. Let's
and
build a
someone
dam.
goes, why? Because that's what beavers do.
Brilliant analogy. The
Thank
frog
you.
and the scorpion. Yep,
They're,
it's in his nature.
Here, we'll show the clip of...
Of Jane Fonda? I can
yes,
only imagine
this
the
is
brilliant
why...
ideas.
This bitch is why we don't have a railroad.
Yeah. Her and him. Her and him.
Her and Ralph.
You really
And not
don't
that
believe
order.
that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
they're
Are
not.
They? Are they?
When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. And
Yeah.
there should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That is.
No, you know this about California. Come
No,
on.
I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry. I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And that, what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all. Not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics
Yeah.
are.
Well, by the way, it's not far enough left for her.
Yeah, because she lives on Pluto.
Right. So she has no idea what he's talking
I spent
about.
the night in jail. Speaking of regulation and really lefty states, I spent the night in jail because my neighbor kept playing his music really loud in New York and Manhattan. I finally called the cops after
What
asking
year?
him nicely. Last year. Yeah, you thought it was a long
This is an
time.
adult thing.
Last
This was right
fucking
before we
year.
came out here to California.
Okay.
I long story short,
Turn
I
down
end up calling the cops.
nicely.
This guy's offended that I called the cops. Comes banging on my door at 3 a.m. I open the door. He pushes his way in. I hit him with a right hand in the mouth. Bust his face up. The cops come and arrest me.
Right.
And in New York, I learned that you have no right to stand your ground initially.
Right.
Florida, stand your ground straight. Texas, stand your ground.
Sure.
In New York, you have what's called a duty to retreat. So you get chaotic streets where a duty to retreat. So that if somebody pulls their dick out and walks up to your family on the train, you are supposed to retreat. You can only respond when cornered.
Yeah, but in my defense, that's how we met. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
Backing into each other.
All kidding aside, it's getting bananas. And when you feel that chaos, it's because there's a politician that isn't substantiating what the police have. And
I'll play you. I'll play you one more, and then we'll move on to different subjects. But honestly, God's honest.
She seemed to be unaware that it was. She even apologized
She's out of her mind.
him for the garage door. So she's living in her own fantasy.
Yes. I did some research. In 1930, 70% of the households in the U.S. had electricity through power lines. So it's basically 100 years old. We're in the most expensive real estate in the world, and we can't find the funds to bury them. They're also an eyesore when you see.
It's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing, right.
Drive along the PCH. It's mind-blowing.
I live along
No,
PCH.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing, yeah.
You're so
All
angry.
right. Also, you know what the thing that's funny? I'll tell you the thing that's funny. Someone will bring it up every once in a while. They're constantly talking about global warming and rising seas. There are houses on the water side of PCH that are from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
They're just parked there on pilasters. There's nothing going on. There's no sea. And a house on the ocean side is 4 times as much, maybe 6 times as much as one on the other side of the highway.
Right.
Literally 30 feet away, you're going to save $18 million.
Right.
So is the sea rising?
Apparently not.
Because a lot of those houses are there from the 40s and the 50s. But I'll tell you what is going on in terms of impact to the environment. 200 million tons of soot going into the air when we have a fucking fire every 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's madness.
So they're worried about the ocean.
Yeah.
Nobody from the Coastal Commission goes, what about these fucking power lines?
At least the Ocean Rising will put out the fires.
Yes. If whatever we save with whatever technology we're talking about, catalytic converters or whatever clean fuel, it's all out the window after one big fire. Because it's all the carbon and soot just go right up into the
it's a
atmosphere.
net negative if you don't address the underlying issues. That's right.
Yeah. I have, I don't know.
But it's not politically expedient to do so. So we're going to keep living like this in this dysfunctional loop where we're complaining to nobody.
Well, somebody, Joe, I think we have it, some congressman or somebody from out here said he's putting a bill together just going, no more money for the rail.
God.
First things first, everyone. You could say, well, don't you want you or your kids to be able to ride a high-speed rail? The answer is it's never going to be done. It's never going to work. It's never going to happen. They're never. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Did they
It'll
even
never
break
be
ground
done
for it? Or they didn't even break ground?
They broke ground in 2008.
Oh man.
It's 80 billion over, and we have nothing. You're never going to have anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to just play devil's advocate for 1 second.
There is no advocate. There is no advocate.
Not devil's advocate, but like I was in Portugal 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And just to say that there's crazy regulation everywhere, it's the worst airport in the world is Lisbon's airport.
Doesn't make it any better.
The worst airport in the world. It took them 17 years just to agree where the new airport was going to be.
And look at their economy.
So I'm just saying is that everywhere...
You want to be like Portugal?
I don't.
Okay, then let's get the fucking politics.
Sometimes it is...
This
universally,
always has another
it's
argument.
universally a problem is what I'm saying.
We didn't invent
Not in
it.
China, it's not.
But, all right, so here's Republican
You want to live in a
Kevin.
dictatorship?
No, I don't.
It seems like you're saying that.
So we got a guy, he's from California. He's basically just going, well, we'll hear his pitch. It's kind of funny.
The high-speed rail project was originally projected in 2008 to cost $33 billion. It is now projected to cost up to $127.9 billion. Its estimated completion date was 2020. Of course, we are past 2020 now. As of 2024, 0 passengers have been transported. Indeed, the majority of the system has not even been fully designed. And yet, it has received $6.8 billion in federal funds, and they're requesting an additional $8 billion in federal funds. In short, the cost has quadrupled, and nothing has been built.
There's no utility.
Or actually, I'm being a little bit unfair. There was an announcement earlier this year in May, where the High-Speed Rail Authority, which really has to strain to come up with milestones to advertise to the public, there was a lot of hoopla surrounding the unveiling of an $11 billion bridge to nowhere that took 9 years to build, which is about the only thing that the High-Speed Rail Authority has to show for its efforts over the last 16 years. A few years ago, the New York Times did an expose, the New York Times, reporting that at the current pace, the high-speed rail project will not be completed this century. I actually asked Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg about this, whether he agreed with the New York Times assessment, and he said, oh yeah, it'll be completed this century, although I gave him several opportunities to give his own best estimation of when it will be completed, and he declined to do so. To give you a sense of how bad things are, in the early days of the project, the lead operator abandoned the project to go and build a rail system in North Africa because they said that there it was, quote, less politically dysfunctional than California.
Hilarious.
That operator, by the way, brought a high-speed train online in Morocco in 2018. So high-speed trains are not impossible to build. Californians, Americans travel abroad and they ride them. And they say, why can't we have them here? It's just impossible in California because of stratospheric levels of political
Because of that
incompetence.
bitch Jane Fonda.
Indeed, the head of the California
I have a
High-Speed Rail
question.
Authority testified.
All right, pause. Yeah.
Why are there no high-speed trains being built anywhere else in the country?
It's a deep, well,
California's leading us into
we got to lead. We got to lead
gotta
the
lead.
way.
It's progressive.
Yeah.
You gotta
would
lead.
think. I'm just asking
No,
if it's so easy
all
to build.
Here's what I would say to that challenge. I would say in conservative parts of the country, they're not interested in it because we have airplanes and cars.
We don't
and we
need
actually
them.
like cars. So in conservative leaning places or red states, they're not enamored with it.
Where you're
Blue
allowed to defend yourself, by the way.
Wait, here we
Again,
go. Wait, let me finish.
Sorry.
Blue states are enamored with it, and they like the idea of it, but blue states are so regulated that they can't do it.
Correct.
So red states don't want to do it, but probably could. Like if you wanted to pull this shit off in
do it in
Texas,
Texas,
you could probably pull it off pretty quickly.
But why would you?
They don't have any interest in it because they have Jet Suite X and Southwest, and they don't give a fuck.
and good highways, yeah.
I think, and they like to drive. Blue states don't like you in your car.
So in these other countries where they're being built relatively regularly, there is no left-right divide, is what you're saying?
I don't think, and I wouldn't speculate. I mean, I don't say
I'm
to
just-
no,
you're just
but
trying to
I
look
would
at it
say
as objectively as possible.
I would say in China, especially where they do
Well,
the
that doesn't
most and the
count. China
fastest.
doesn't count.
Well, they crank out the most and the fastest and the best. So it's hard
But where
to
you just
take
said,
them
where
out of
did
the
you say it was?
conversation.
In Morocco? Where was it?
Hey,
Morocco?
listen, Japan's
Yeah.
famous for it. They have it in Europe. I mean, those cities are connected, but it makes sense. The distances are shorter, and you don't need to get on an airplane there. Here, the distances are longer, and so why build the train when you have air travel? I'm going to call this project Ralph Sutton Railways.
They did it.
I'll take
Fucking
it.
comic.
By the way, how long is the distance that they're trying to connect?
It's I checked it out.
30 feet.
It's about a it's about a 2.5 hour drive, which is to say
Through the desert.
If
Through-
you're ever found yourself in Merced and you needed to get to Bakersfield,
That won't ever happen
you would
to
just
me.
jump in your car and
or kill yourself.
or kill yourself.
Or both?
Here's another thing that we don't think about. I have to drive up north all the time. My family's been in California for 5 generations, and Highway 5 is still 2 lanes in each direction for about 250 miles.
Yeah.
Think about when there's an accident on that and you got a 1,000 cars idling.
Yeah.
How much CO2 are you putting into the air
Yeah.
when we could just widen the freeway? The land is there.
No, we need the money to build
Land is
trains to
there.
nowhere.
No,
Yeah, of
that's
course.
why they're
Yeah.
not building the roads.
Thanks
because
to
they
this
want
guy.
Because
This guy.
Ralph doesn't believe you should own a car as an
Read
American.
my manifesto. It's on my website.
All right, let me ask you guys this. We'll get on to other subjects that we can all agree upon. Do you believe, now people talk about gaydar.
Now you got a subject that somebody's could hold court on.
What was I, what?
Yeah. When he's not performing cunnilingus on Jane Fonda, he has gaydar.
What about douchedar?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Tell me if you guys vibe with this. I was at the gym. I was taking a Pilates class because I'm secure enough
you're all
now.
men.
I'm
Yeah,
old and I'm secure.
Speaking of gaydar.
Yeah, and I'm in a Pilates class, and the guy in the mat directly ahead of me, my douche dar's going off like the
Going
whole
off.
time. First thing, 2 calf tattoos.
Bang.
One of them like state of Texas and something. Then it's ponytail with hat, ball cap on backwards with ponytail hanging out.
Yeah.
Then it's a kind of general, at some point you're down and child's pose or down dog or something, and you're taking your leg and kicking it out. I'm aware that I'm 6'2" and I got long parts, and the chick's mat's 18 inches from yours. I realize if I go full extension, I'm going to punch her in the face, You have neighbors, but not this guy. This guy's back of the mat, full leg extension. I'm literally like Tyson slipping under his heel, throwing an uppercut, slipping under again. Yeah. And I'm like, my douche star's going off.
As it should.
Later on, after the class, I go take the cold plunge tub. Sit in there for 4 minutes. 36 degrees, by the way, very cold. Get out and head back into the locker room. At some point, a young guy who was in the cold tub next to me, young athletic guy, nice guy, you're sitting in the cold tub. Your balls are retracting in your abdomen, and you start a conversation. Anything to just not stare at the fucking second hand on the clock, just barely moving. It's 36 degrees.
Gallows humor.
You start talking about pain. At some point, the guy comes back into the locker room, and he goes, "Oh, man, I just had a situation out there." I go, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "Well, I got out of the cold tub, and I just sat down like on the edge of the tub. It's 36 degrees. You have to stand. You have to steady yourself for a few moments. This guy comes in there, gets in the cold tub, and he goes, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And the guy goes, "I'm just chillaxing. I'm just trying to get my body out. Would you mind leaving?" It's like it's a public area. I go, "This guy have a ponytail?"
Of course he did.
He goes, "Oh yeah,
that's the guy.
That's the guy." I go, first off, could you imagine sitting in a public place in a gym when a guy just gets out of the cold tub and he's standing there with the towel around him, and you go, "Hey, could you leave, bro?" It's just an open area. I don't know what leave even means.
Also, ironically, in a place that's supposed to be of centeredness and wellness, like the Pilates studio, and he's already coming in with attitude.
But my fucking douche star was going off like a pinball machine
that
the
was the
whole
guy in the
time.
subsequent
Yeah,
problem.
and I'm like, why? I was just behind the guy. I had nothing. I had the calf tattoos and the ponytail with the backwards trucker hat on. And the douche star, it was like going off the charts. And also, I must always say, I'm secretly jealous of these guys. I just wish I could go into a cold tub and say to a stranger, "Hey, bro, could you clear out?"
Yeah.
His Highness, his nutsack is in this cold sack.
But does that mean that you have that thought? That you want to say that and you don't?
I feel like I could never pull it off.
But you want to say it is what I'm saying.
No, I don't care that he's there. I admire his chutzpah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's not chutzpah, it's obliviousness.
Is that what it is?
I don't think it's oblivious. It's a step
he
beyond.
knows what's going on.
He's not aware of his own behavior.
But he's aware there's a guy standing there.
that he's aware of it, but he's a douchebag. So,
It's the people who look at the universe thinking that they're the main character in a video game.
Obviously.
That's that, and there's that delusion for that where they call that those NPC people. That the non-playable characters are all around you, and you are the center of the universe.
Right.
So of course you're going to.
We're extras in your film.
in his movie. So that's what that is.
That's why
I don't think it's obliviousness. I think it's delusional.
Are we jealous?
No, I'm not jealous, but we should hit people in the face more often under the right circumstances.
I
used
and
to
then go to jail.
I used so what? I used to live near the Hells Angels block where they had their headquarters on 3rd Street. The block on either side, people sold drugs. Women were getting fucked around with. On the Hells Angels block, it was peaceful unless they were having a party once a year. Utterly peaceful. And everybody was going, the politicians are going, but we have mentally ill, but we have the mentally ill. All weren't mentally ill, so mentally ill that they didn't avoid that block because they get thrown off a fucking roof.
Right.
So, we got to go back to a time where people said, that's right. That's not right.
Yes.
And if we all stare at our feet when that happens, like when my neighbor, we're going to live in a society that's chaotic with fucking guys with ponytails.
I used to have a
walking
ponytail.
around.
But here's what I would say, that those people who believe they're the center of the universe, every problem that happens, they think it's about them. So when someone cuts them off, it's
unless
because
you
they're
spent
doing
$90
it to
billion
them.
on a train, then it's not about them.
But so those people are in a constant state of misery because every problem that happens, it's happening to them. So I'm not jealous of that at all.
Yes, it's a kind of a narcissism.
Yeah.
And the narcissism is, but it's me, and you cut them off. First off, the freeway cutoff is almost always a mistake. It's more. It's not that it's them. It's that you didn't see them or know who they even were.
It's not about you. 99%. It's not about you. For instance, one time I was at a party. I was at my house and I was playing music really loud, and some jerk off shows up at 3 a.m. to tell me to lower the music.
That's delightful, but it is not an analog for what happened to me, Charlie.
All right, another question. Who are these people? I got another person
Let's
for
do
you.
it. Let's do it.
It's like you had a rough week.
Yeah, it was. It was tough. First the trauma of the cold cup.
And then the fires, and it's been a rough week.
It's 2025, and when it gets windy, the most expensive real estate in California catches on fire, and there's not a goddamn thing we can do about it. That's the weirdest thing. Elon is going to Mars. Elon's going to colonize Mars before that train makes it to Merced.
Yeah, and China built a train that goes from one end of the country to the other for 1/3 of what they spent from Merced to Bakersfield.
Right. All right. So it just gets windy, and then Malibu catches on fire.
Yeah, it's a Kafka novel.
Yes. So I've noticed that people have trouble. Now, back before there was all the navigation system, you used to tell people, follow me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go follow me. Like I remember saying to my dad years ago, like, well, he's like, where's the restaurant? I'm like, just follow me. Well, it's up Ventura. Well, at some point, you look in your rearview mirror, you see he's a 1/4 mile behind you, and then at some point, you see 3 cars slide in between him and them, and then at some point, you realize he missed the red light that you just made, and it's like, I don't know, what part of follow don't people understand? I don't get. So there's this big ass truck in my parking lot that you guys saw. Yeah. That truck is a Hino, which is a huge corporation that makes trucks, but that was the first one ever brought into the United States. And it's got a story as a race car transport from the 60s. Mm-hmm. That truck is from the 60s, early 60s. It is right-hand drive, which is weird. It has suicide doors.
I got to take a look at
which
this.
Is weird.
I didn't take a look at it.
And the steering wheel is almost flat and in your lap. So it's
like a DJ.
And you're sitting like over the front axle. So it's really weird, like driving a steamroller or something. And it hasn't been driven in a long time. And I've never driven it. And
is it drivable?
Yeah, kind of. And I got to drive it from Pasadena or La Cañada to here.
Yeah.
So I tell my 2 guys who are in the truck filled with moving stuff, I go, I'm driving the Hino. The Hino's dicey. The Hino is filled to the back with mechanics tool chests, roll-off tool chests, but
so
we had to use a forklift to get them in there, like tons of weight in there, strapped down, but tons of weight. I say, you 2 follow me in the dually truck.
Shouldn't be hard because you're doing 35.
Right, I can't move.
Yeah.
All right.
Where are you going?
Put the hazards on the dually. We're getting up on the freeway. We're going over the pass, and we're coming down a long downhill into the 101. I go, put the hazards on the dually and follow me.
Follow me. Shouldn't be hard.
He goes, okay. Stop at the gas station. Fill up the Hino. I go, okay. Follow me. Put the hazards on and follow me. Go up. Start heading up the freeway to the 2. Getting on the freeway. As soon as I get on the freeway, I look back. These guys are 7 blocks back, and 2 cars slide in. And I'm like, why? But why?
You couldn't handle the Hino?
It's big as fuck, and it barely moves, and you guys can't
and you still can't manage to follow
And now it's weird because you're 3 cars back with your hazards on, inexplicably just driving down the freeway because you're not following me.
Yeah.
So then at some point we start like coming over the hill and we're going down this long downhill sort of into Eagle Rock. And I'm driving this thing with right-hand drive, the big steering wheels in my lap, and my feet are like trying to find the pedals, you know, and I start pushing on the brake and I'm not feeling anything and I'm getting up speed. And I look in the rearview mirror and these guys are they're nowhere to be found. Sake. There's another 2 cars in, but there are other cars that slid in. And I'm like, what is the thing? What is that?
You couldn't pull it off? You couldn't pull off following a guy in a Hino?
I think it should be part of the driver's test.
It should be part of the test to be a man, to put your pants on.
Be a man.
Yeah, you should learn to drive standard shift.
You're driving a normal truck. I'm driving a behemoth that barely moves and is big as shit.
And it's loaded with 2 tons worth of shit.
Can see from outer space, and you can't see fit just to tuck in and sit about 20, 30 feet behind me for a short, 6-mile run. Wow. Right. That's it. No, not doable.
Because I was going to argue maybe in this world of GPS where they're so not used to looking in front and they're looking at a GPS that they lost track of it.
They knew exactly where they were going and they knew exactly where I was going. And they've been back and forth. It's just the follow me thing means when you tell people follow me, they go, oh, okay. And they leave about 300 yards, and then inevitably other cars tuck in.
You got to follow such that you can't have 3 cars tucking in between, and also clip your ponytail, take the tattoo off the calf, and join society. Let's all get together.
What if both cars had their blinkers on? People might have made the association that you're together and would have not tried to sneak
like a funeral,
I don't think the Hino has hazards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it may
Pre-hazard?
It's pre-hazard.
Pre-hazard.
Yeah. It's a classic pre-hazard truck, Adam.
That's a Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, it's a Dukes of Hazzard.
Pre-hazard, boys.
Post-Dukes of Hazzard.
That's right. We're going to origin story. Boss Hogg is 17 and in high school.
Yeah, except...
Enos is 14 and struggling.
What was the other one?
Roscoe
Pico train.
Yeah.
Roscoe Pico train. He could follow you in the Hino, Roscoe.
Oh, Roscoe follow me sideways.
They would push him out of town if he couldn't follow you in the Hino.
The idea that the Dukes of Hazzard was made in modern times.
Tremendous. With the Confederate flag on the roof is
kind of
cool.
Insane.
Tremendous.
But just the fact that this guy went and the
Roscoe.
And Boss Hogg was crazy.
Boss Hogg.
Crazy.
And Enos ran the
Enos
whatever.
was later on, though, right? Enos was towards the end of the series.
Bo and Luke.
Daisy Duke.
You grew up in New York City. You watched that?
Yeah.
That was my favorite show.
I like to see how the other half lived.
But I grew up in a junkyard.
Yeah,
You grew up in
fancy
urban
pants
sophisticates.
land.
Yeah, I was listening. Who Dawes was it? Merle Haggard? Who did the song?
Haggard.
Waylon Jennings.
Oh, Waylon Jennings.
Even better.
Even better. Yeah, it had a good theme.
And Daisy
Tremendous.
Dukes was not only inspired a generation to wear jean shorts. She was gorgeous. Jesus.
Yeah.
Who cares?
She was something. But the fact that All in the Family and Mary Tyler Moore was like 15 years before that show, and this is what we did in 1980.
And Dove stole his summer look from Daisy Dukes.
Exactly. No, it all led up to that. In some ways, we're moving in some strange, alternate universe direction. We're all in the family. I don't know. I mean, we're headed. Maybe the pendulum is swinging back now. With this last election. I don't know.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, to have an entrepreneur in there, the office of Doge. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I don't know if it's gonna too little, too late. I don't know.
Well, here's what I always say: safe spaces and octagons.
Yeah, there you go.
People either going to a safe space or they're going to an octagon.
Yeah, one or
and
the
the
other.
guys going to the octagons are going deeper. Like, think about this just sociologically. I'm in California. And this is the home of, the electric car and Prius and all that. And we got a governor that says, we're not going to sell any internal combustion engine cars in 2030 and everything another. I've never seen more Jeeps with lift kits on them and more big Rams and TRX and dualies.
It's
And
the car capital here. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm seeing desert trophy trucks pull up next to me everywhere. I grew up out here.
Yeah.
Used to be... Everyone just drove a Camry or a Honda or whatever. Everyone just drove something sensible. Mm-hmm. Now it's Raptors and Broncos with lift kits.
Yeah.
And then all electric cars. Why is that?
There's
well,
a
because
divergence.
when you push one group into an electric car, there's another group that goes, fuck that, I'm getting a Raptor and I'm putting a lift kit on it.
Yeah.
And so now we got safe spaces and octagons.
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
The
now.
whole country is getting more and more polarized, not more and more together. That's what's happening. It's a good...
But it's an interesting analogy because I would imagine in an octagon, you're going to find out more about yourself. In a safe space, you're defending against reality to some degree, which is the nature of a safe space.
What if your
maybe
safe
I'm taking
space
this too far.
is an octagon?
It's not. It can't be. By definition, it can't
No,
be.
what's going to happen is the people are going to move to Texas who want that life or
Yeah, a lot of people
whatever,
already
or
have.
Florida, whatever they already have. That's what's going on. And the other people aren't. And the octagon, it's basically you can define your safe space by you announcing that your sanctuary city.
Yes.
But the problem is the safe spaces won't work.
No, they're
The
not
safe
working.
spaces can't work.
Well, they're clearly not working.
You can't just announce your sanctuary city. You need to put a whole bunch of stuff in place.
also follow
but they
the
just
money,
play.
you know?
So the safe spaces are going to have to hit up the octagons for protection and money at some point
At some
because the
point.
safe space idea is not going to work.
Well, a lot of, I mean, you saw it pre-COVID, post-COVID. So I'm in the real estate business in New York. And, I mean, things haven't moved in roughly 10 years in terms of price, in terms of overall market. If you go to a red state like Florida or Texas, the cities in those states have appreciated by 50, 75%. Whereas here, I just saw my place on Zillow in Venice. It's the same price I sold it for roughly 10 years ago.
Really?
Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I own it. I know what I'm
Nashville's
talking
that
about.
way now.
Nashville.
Right.
So
Right.
all of these places, you're already seeing it. You're already seeing the rise in values and the stagnation in big blue cities. So you'll see more of it.
Yeah, unless they course
Unless
correct.
politically, of course.
Yeah, but then they're going to have to do something.
Of course.
All right. I got a lot of stuff to get into with you guys. We'll take a quick break. Be right back right after this. Home chef drowning in a sea of meal kit options. It's like a bad dating game show, and all the contestants look the same. That's where Home Chef comes in. Fresh ingredients and chef-designed recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Over 30 options a week covering a variety of dietary needs. The one I tried recently, which was great, which was urban crusted salmon with garlicky zucchini. That's right, it's garlicky. I don't know if they made that word up, but that's what it's called, and peppers, and it was real good. And you do save money as well. Save an average of $86 per month on groceries. That's right, because go to the grocery store, man. You don't get out of there for under $300 these days. Home Chef even has a delicious kid-friendly menu with 18 new options each week for picky eaters. It is approved. It is the best meal deal on the planet Earth. Am I right, Dawson?
For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Just go to homechef.com/Adam. That's homechef.com/Adam for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. You heard that right. Homechef.com/Adam. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
Hexclad, New Year's resolutions. Start in the kitchen. Let's go healthier this year. You cook at home, you save money, and you don't get fat. Hexclad has you covered. I love these guys. They gave me their product. Well, they have a few, but I got the big pan, and I was doing like a wok-style chicken and cabbage the other day. It was so good. You can ditch the delivery fees, by the way, and ditch that old scratched-up pan you've had since college. You get all the performance of a stainless steel pan, but the quick cleanup of a nonstick. Plus, their Japanese Damascus steel knives are as sharp as they are tough, and their sleek pepper mill lets you season like a pro. For a limited time, just for my listeners, 10% off at hexclad.com/Adam. This is the real deal. It's got some heft. It's good. The last pan you're going to need in the kitchen, and knife as well. Metal utensils, dishwasher, and oven safe. Up to 500 degrees in the oven. Lifetime warranty. Literally the last time you'll ever have to buy. It's Hexclad. Am I right, Dawson?
New year, new you, new cookware. For a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off your order with our exclusive link. Just head to hexclad.com/Adam. Support our show and check them out at HEXCLAD Facebook.com/Adam. Make sure to let them know that we sent you. Bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware. Here's a memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
My mother told me that my father was getting blown by a guy at the wedding.
Well, hold on.
But there was nothing gay about him. He banged guys, but there was nothing.
Hold on, Doug.
Yeah.
Let's get back to your dad for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Guy was blowing him at the wedding? Well, why did your mom tell you this?
Why? Well, because it wasn't the kind of thing that she would hide. It was.
By the way, I have a short list of things that I'm going to hide from my kids. That would be 1, 2, and 3.
The 2025 Ace Awards, coming this December. Now back to the Adam Carolla Show.
I do remember that story, Dub.
Wild. I had forgotten all about it.
What's the story? I just heard blowing a guy and I got excited. What was that?
My mother told me about the time my father got blown by a guy at their wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they still got married.
Yeah, but he wasn't a progressive, I'll tell you that. It was just that, in that moment.
At
he
what
voted
point
down.
of the wedding?
I have no idea. I didn't,
While they were reading the nuptials.
I purposely didn't look into the story. Once she hit me with that information, I changed.
Do you know if it was the first time he ever got blown by a dude? It could have had to not have been.
No, he used to bang guys. But again, my father ran a junkyard. He was a guy. You couldn't.
Well,
where I
he
grew
was
up,
a real
in a
guy,
working class
apparently.
town in Jersey. No, he would bang guys, but he didn't enjoy it. He was all man. You understand?
He only slept with men to prove something. He didn't like it. He proved it 27 times that time.
There was nothing gay about him, other than banging guys once in a while.
I used to go to junkyards all the time.
To blow guys also?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to see
blew
what
I grew up in a
Dad
proper
at
junkyard.
Pick Apart in Sun Valley, 1979. Sorry, Duff. Sorry you had to hear it here, but I want you to hear it from
it's
the
okay.
horse's mouth.
It's okay. It's okay.
He was on a junkyard exchange program, so he came out here. We had a guy from Sun Valley go out, check it out, and one thing led to another.
These things happen.
Yeah.
Santa was killed a long time ago for me. In a proper junkyard.
Did you? You forgot about that story?
A proper meaning we would take the forklift, bring up the car, crush the car, ship the metal from Jersey City outward. Yeah, it's a proper
Every
junkyard.
third cop show I saw in the 70s, some guy was trapped in the trunk. And they were going to crush the car.
Yeah.
And he was in the trunk and it was on the conveyor belt. And there was they had 3 themes, and that was just one of them.
That was one of the 3.
It's like the first time any writer saw the car crusher, they went,
I got an idea.
I got an idea. What if we put the chick in the trunk? What if someone's in the trunk of that
What's
Nova?
scarier than that?
It would be nothing scary.
I wanted to do a show once where you go back and trace the trope. And see the first time that it was done. The first time a countdown to a bomb stopped at 001.
Right.
And then everybody did it. Or the first time that happened.
Or the wire clip scene.
Yeah. There was an interesting rabbit hole to go down to find the first instance of whatever that was.
Yeah, I would like...
The etymology.
The first... Obviously, the first time it got woven in, the car crush thing had to be just months after the first car crusher was put in there because someone saw it and went, oh, yeah. So you guys, now let me say, I've been to a lot of junkyards because I used to have to go pull parts.
Yeah, that's what we had. We did it both. So we would pull them or they would pull them.
Yeah, we'd come out, I'd be driving it. You call them up. I got a 77 Datsun Nissan 2-liter. Do you have a starter?
Yeah. You have a catalytic converter for that rig?
I could go to the auto parts place and pay full price for it, but I'd rather go to Sun Valley and get under a car someone was killed in.
Yeah.
Some of those cars you'd walk up to and go, oh, nobody lived inside of this car. Everyone's dead.
I used to go with the tow truck or the flatbed and pick those cars up that you're talking about. That's how they get to the junkyard. Starters haunted, baby.
So now the yards here all had a few things. They weren't on slabs or even asphalt. They were on dirt. But the dirt had so much transmission fluid and oil in it.
EPA would come.
It was so
it was
compacted.
Dead ground.
It was just dead. Yeah. There was no weeds. And nothing could grow.
Environmental hazard.
Yes, but it was almost as if it was paved.
Yes.
Because it was so compacted. From having transmission oil and engine oil dumped into it 24/7 and having forklifts and trucks drive over it all the time.
This dilettante knows nothing about what you're saying.
It was like
I'm just learning about junkyard right now.
It was the same as having a paved
Might as well
lot.
have been paved. Why pave it?
Then there would be parts, like good parts, up front. Up front, there was an office. And the office might have some shelves or display case or something. And that's where the Alpine stereo would be, or the CB, or the expensive tachometer. Like
or those signs saying, if we don't have it, you don't need it. You know, stuff like that.
Right. A lot of, they used to have the sign of, they have the caricature of the guy on his back laughing real hard and say, you want it when? I miss insulting signs.
Tremendous.
They're now all eagles and inspiration.
No. Now it's all about the customer.
Back then, I was going to engine shops, machine shops, transmission shops. And
it was almost overtly hostile at times.
I'd read signs at like, Bill Hyatt's head shop and a cam grinding shop, and it'd go, you could have it in 3 days, or you could help and have it in a week. What am I, retarded? Why am I I'm here to drop money off. Why am I getting yelled at? Yeah, it was a lot of like, you're not going to get it when you want it. And if you try to get involved with this process, all you're going to do is fuck it up. And there was tons of insulting signs. And so that's the front office.
It was an adversarial experience from the beginning. They'd come in, they'd want it for a little less. It's an intense
They
environment.
might also have like a mascot, like a cat.
We had a dog.
Or a
Junkyard
parrot
dog.
or something. They just hang around in that office with the one air conditioner.
Or a guy from another machine shop that was supposed to be on the clock somewhere else. We always had a guy who used to run the Kmart machine shop, and he would hang out in the office all day long.
How long did you work at the junkyard?
I grew up in it from the time I was born until I left Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And then you'd bring the cars in, you'd stack them, you'd crush them, but first you'd have to strip the good stuff.
Right.
Catalytic converters, radiators, you pull the aluminum off everything.
Right. But stuff like radiators were tough because in a frontal collision, the radiator was always the first thing to go. But the starter was usually pretty good. You could grab the starter.
Yeah, the starter, the motor, if you could. In a frontal collision, you couldn't often. But the motors. And then we would have a motor room, a transmission room. And then, you'd put the car out depending on how jammed up it was, or you'd crush it.
Did your father have like a separate oral gratification room?
Listen, you do what you got to do. He was a leader of men. Nothing gay about him.
In order to have oral sex at one's own wedding with a male,
wild.
You'd think there'd be some substance involved.
No, not if you were married to my mother. That's how far left she was. My mother was out there. There were no guardrails. My mother was a sort of Ivy League pianist. She was on her way to meet her friend she was on her way to India to teach piano.
Mother's a pianist, Ivy League, and hooks up with the junkyard
She
dog.
was on her way to meet her she was on her way to teach piano in India. Stopped off to meet her friend in Jersey who was a lesbian woman who owned a monkey.
I honestly thought you said she had an Ivy League penis, and I really got confused.
Pianist. That monkey owner was renting an old house from my father, and that's how they met. My father had an 8th grade education. My mother's was blah, 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 blah. So I got in a fucking comedy, and then you realize how fragile that existence is. So I built a building, and now it's no longer fragile. So
when did they get divorced?
2 years after they were married. They started on that right away.
Oh, they got
it was a pretty wild scene, but
he was still in this refractory period from being blown at his wedding by a dude when he started in on the divorce. Still in refractory.
Probably when the divorce proceedings started.
It was a classic refractory divorce.
How does one? You don't know. Listen, I'm with you. I found out as an adult that my mom, who's one of the worst people ever, but sort of like your mom, minus the education and piano,
but my mother's a good person.
Ethic and stuff, but super nutty progressive.
Yes,
I found out that she met my stepdad in primal scream therapy. I couldn't beat off for a month. It fucked me up. I did not want to know any of that. And when I start pressing you for information, well, did your dad get blown in the bathroom, or was it in the coat room, or the Of course, you don't want to hear. You don't want to know anything.
Well, my mother was wrapped up in a cult. She went to India for a bit. I was in India for a bit on Sai Baba's ashram, but she was wrapped up in a cult looking for God. She spent a lot of her money on freeze-dried food, awaiting the nuclear apocalypse.
Oh, really?
How'd that work out for her?
Yeah, well, you know the answer to that question.
Is she still with us?
Yeah, now she's a psychoanalyst painter in the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
On SDR, we brought in his mom and my mom, and we played the newlywed game, but with your kid to see who knows their mom or son better. And we won. My mom and I won, but it came close. It was pretty close. Yeah.
So you guys had an interesting and honest relationship?
Yeah, too honest.
Too honest.
Yeah, I think you should protect your kids from certain things. I have a kid. I wouldn't talk to him in certain...
Okay, let's talk about
so
this.
You're saying that if you get blown by a dude at a wedding, you wouldn't tell your son?
I'm saying you're going to blow me, and I'm not going to tell my kid.
He's saying he didn't.
Yeah.
Not that he would.
Yeah.
Why are you going hypothetical?
Yeah. I'm saying I'm going to hit you in the head. You're going to suck my cock.
All right, well, let's...
My gaydar is going off.
Yeah,
let's break this down. So I've always said less history, more mystery.
Yep.
And there was a movement, and Dov, we're approximately the same age.
Yeah, 51, yeah.
I'm older, but there was a movement amongst the progressives. So the whole sort of vibe, global warming and, all this environmental stuff, all the stuff we're talking about today was in full effect in 1973. Mm-hmm. I know because I lived it with my mom. All the food and the health food and all the same subjects were... She was talking about fluoride being bad for you in 1972. So nothing is new. None of what we're talking about is new. It just gets sort of forgotten about and then gets passed on to the next generation. And then they think they've discovered it.
The infiltration of corporate organizations might be a little bit new, but nothing is
new.
new.
They changed the name. It used to be called ecology.
Right. Now it's called the ESG or something.
And now it's global climate change or whatever the fuck it was. But none of it's new. But there was a movement, and it was like a late 60s, early 70s kind of kids are people too. Like kids deserve to be treated like adults and so on and so forth. Mixed with the truth. Like you can never go wrong with the truth. The truth is for all, right?
No, not true.
No, I know. So my mom, being a hippie, would have conversations with me at age 8 that I never needed to fucking hear because she's like, but you're an adult. You're not an adult, but you're human and you deserve the truth. And you're talking about me being molested by my neighbor Ed, and it's weird to me because I'm 8 and it sounds all fucked up. But my mom would have those conversations, but it was sort of a hippie progressive thing, and it doesn't help. And I'm 100% right. I looked at it as my mission to shield my kids from all this fucking 100%. Shit. I used to sit around with my mom and we'd watch Roots. And she'd just look at me and go, do you see what we do? Yeah. Do you see who we are? Do you see who you are? I'm like, I'm fucking 9 and I'm impoverished, Mom. I have nothing. We don't own anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No Carolla ever owned a slave. I'll tell you that the fuck now. We have nothing. So why are you looking at me?
No, it's bananas.
Right.
It gets bananas. I mean, and even the privilege narrative it comes from, like the kids I grew up with are competing with black guys for jobs. I mean, privilege, the Queen of England is privileged, and then how do we define any of that? So yes, they get pulled over by the cops less, but cool it with the privilege in certain demographics.
I had a hot blonde chick at a wedding who's old, go back with work-wise for a long time, pulling me aside and giving me a discussion about privilege, and I'm like, "You're big,
fuck yourself.
You're big-titted." She's a big-titted, hot blonde who went to UCLA.
Of course,
I went to a construction site, dug ditches.
Of course, save your fucking junkyard. Where the fuck is the privilege?
Save your fucking speech for someone who's experienced some of it because you picked the wrong.
Go to Beverly Hills and do it.
I am white and I'm heterosexual and I'm 6'2", but I grew up in poverty on welfare and food stamps and did manual labor my entire life, was warehouse and never went to college for a day.
About
so save your fucking privilege
save it.
Discussion. And
elitists like Ralph, on the other hand.
The one job I tried, Ralph, when I was 19, because I was so fucking poor and rudderless, I walked to the North Hollywood fire station and I said, I want to sign up to be a fireman. And they said, we're not hiring white dudes. This was back in the early 80s. They said, well, it's Los Angeles. The guy goes,
they were ahead of the curve.
The guy goes, baby. You can fill out an application, but it's going to be years.
I was a strip club DJ. When I was on this show last time, I did you a little strip club nonsense, but I had written a book about being in strip clubs, and we sent it to a couple of book companies, and one company came back and said, we love the book, and they accidentally CC'd me on the reply all. It's too bad that he's white, or we would take the book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why would that factor in?
At the time, they weren't signing white dudes for whatever reason.
Yes.
No, it's well known that everybody only wanted to read books by black strip club DJs.
That's right. All right. So, yes, I lived it with my mom.
But also a lot of that shit with your mom, I don't know if she's accepted. Is she still,
she's passed.
But did she
took
ever,
it to the grave.
She took it to the grave. I think my mother will too.
She went full Jane Fonda.
Yeah. And even though her
She reminds me of
marriage,
a really unsuccessful, heavy Jane Fonda. That's
you
how I
go.
would describe
Yeah, she
her.
took
Like
it to
if
the
Jane
grave.
Fonda, shaped like a pear and had no money.
Yep.
That's
She took
my
it to
mom.
the
You
grave.
attracted?
Yeah, I think my mother will too. It's a very attractive image. No, but they'll take it to the grave. And no matter how obvious it is that narrative sort of, or aspects of that culture have really failed, you know? I mean, there are aspects of it.
Is it not
you know.
fair to say that certain aspects of both sides of the coin are wrong, or you're not willing to at least
Well,
look
that's
into
not
that?
the conversation I need to have with my mother. 'Cause
Right,
The pain
okay.
I experienced was by way of her ridiculousness.
Right.
If you
She
did
take-
grow
like
up in
with anything,
Kentucky,
take it too far.
if you grew up in Kentucky and you're gay and your parents were hardcore Christians, you can take it up
Yeah.
with them. I'm no. But the no, but with my mother, it's like even taking the rails off traditional gender roles and sexuality. It's like, yeah, go marry a guy who also bangs. See how that works out for your marriage and your children.
Yeah.
And send your kid to school in a working class environment with PETA and see what happens to your kid after he gets thrown out of high school.
Yes.
Anyway, Ralph.
Yeah. So your mom knew what she signed up for and that your dad. And do you think,
I think
your
she encouraged
dad
it.
was the only bisexual junkyard owner in New Jersey?
No, but certainly in the
Pretty elite club, I would
I
imagine.
would say it's rarefied.
I think
air.
in the county, I would say he was the guy in the county. I can't claim that he was the state champ.
I
The
don't.
annual
He might have been
meetings had
state
about
champ.
4
He might have been
people at
state
it.
champ. And you're in a time where you couldn't, that was not a thing. You didn't. This was not the West Village.
Can I ask? Do you know, like, how did she find out Did she find out at the wedding?
I don't even know if she frowned upon such things.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she was out there, man, for real. So I
my
don't
my
know.
mom married someone, my father, and he was Syrian Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And that side of the family was against my mom marrying him because she was not Syrian. And at the wedding, his mom tried to set my dad up with one of the other women at the wedding.
That's hilarious.
Said he's
Wow.
not married yet. You still got time.
Wow. At the wedding.
At the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Not as bad as blowing a guy, but still something.
I have no idea about my parents and their marriage. I don't think I've ever seen pictures of it. I never
because
asked.
you didn't want to know.
I realized like really early that these guys were dysfunctional and not in any way, shape, or form a role model
Not to
for
be
me.
followed. Yeah, I realized that early on, too.
And generally embarrassing. I was always
Yeah.
humiliated
My
by
Were they
mother always
them.
divorced
embarrassed me.
early on in your life, or did they stay married the whole time?
My family is so fucked up in a non. They're so untraditional that first off, my dad. I was just talking about it. My dad just died a couple of months ago, and I got a bag with a Tony Bennett CD in it and a book that a friend of mine wrote, and that was
the estate?
That's the
That was the
estate.
estate.
Wow. It's in the next room. It's a Tony Bennett CD, the Rational Bible.
Was it at least
written by
autographed,
Dennis
or-
Prager.
Oh, it was autographed. Okay.
No, it was autographed to me, but I realized later on when I was trying to do the math on it, why would he have a Tony Bennett CD that was autographed to me that he didn't give me? I realized I interviewed Tony Bennett on Loveline. Tony Bennett autographed it to me, and I gave it to my
And he
dad.
gave it back to you.
So I just got it back.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, but my family was so untraditional that and had so much of nothing that when my dad and my mom separated, there was no paperwork and there was no reason to get divorced because all that would mean is you'd probably have to give someone, the county clerk, $60
nothing is still
that they didn't
nothing.
have.
Right.
He didn't have possessions. She didn't have possessions. Neither one of them really wanted the kids. So he got in his VW Bug and he just left. And he didn't even have a place to go. So he went to his in-laws' house. He went to
To your mom's parents.
mom's parents
Amazing.
Wow,
right?
that's cool.
and slept in an oversized closet.
This is how you end up in comedy, you think? It's just trying to reconcile all these things, all the paradoxes?
I was always just funny. Like,
but
I don't think it was like a lot of pain. I mean, there was, but I was
also
always
trying
just
to
had a sense of
figure it
humor.
out. Well, yeah, I did too, but also trying to figure things out. And then you end up in these spaces because it's a pretty extreme, low probability thing to do with your life.
Comedy.
Or
sleep in your in-laws'
That's right.
closet.
How long-
is pretty low, too. That's
How long did
lower.
you actually sleep at your in-laws? Because it would be cool, like you went there for Christmas and dad sleeping on the floor. That would be cool.
He moved into their closet. Now, keep in mind, he's 42 years old. He has nothing. You know what I mean? Like we started the show by saying they're evacuating Malibu. When that happened 3 weeks ago, when the winds kicked up,
you had somewhere to
I
go.
drove to Burbank and checked into a fucking hotel at 3 a.m. and I took a credit card out of my wallet. Like I got into a car that was fully insured and I drove it to Burbank. My dad couldn't do that.
Right.
He couldn't go. Oh, by the way, this is North Hollywood, 1972. I mean, apartments were $85 a month.
Right,
you know, he could not cut it. So he went and stayed in the closet. And at some point, the grandparents got tired of him living. It's only a one-bedroom, one-bath house. He had to go through the bedroom to use the bathroom every day. He's an adult.
For God's sake.
So at some point, they go, Jim, you gotta pack it in.
Do you know? I don't know if you know the answer to this, but
So
did they
deeply
let him
funny.
stay there because they thought maybe he would work it out with their daughter, and so they were being nice?
They didn't. I don't think they cared about the daughter or him. I think he was a complete mercy mission. He had no money. He couldn't take care of himself, and he had nowhere to go. So they should crash in the closet and walk to our bedroom when you need to use the bathroom.
Did you
by the way,
ever reconcile any of that insanity and chaos? So your mother took it to the grave. What about your father? Did he go, what was I thinking? Was that moment you were like, oh, yeah, no, I get it. You must have been through a lot of shit.
My mom, now there's a couple of interesting things. My mom did not leave anything behind, but she did leave a note.
No CDs.
No CDs, no book. I got a treasure trove from my dad. Yeah. Now these are two people that made it to 90 and lived in the San Fernando Valley their entire life. And they've amassed nothing. They have nothing. Well, so my mom left a note. So my mom's thing, which you'll probably vibe with this, Dove, which is, we're seeing it now. She didn't want to work. She didn't want to pay taxes. She didn't want to do things. But she did like to make proclamations.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Fun, yeah.
And, every child needs a safe space and needs a seat at the table and world-class education. It's like, bitch, you don't pay taxes. How are we going to pull this? Well, the rich have to pay their fair share. She paid nothing.
She's voting to have the train built
while
while paying nothing
train,
into
she pays nothing. But she made a lot of proclamations. And my grandmother was like sort of communist and weird. Like my grandmother.
Her mother.
When I told her, I bought a big hacienda house on top of Lake Hollywood, big sprawling manor, and I basically said to my grandma, because we come from poverty, I said, I own a mansion now, like I'm living in a mansion, and she said to me, she had a helper, like a Filipino lady who helped their shit out, named like Delia. She said, Delia doesn't have a kitchen table, and I said, you're her boss. Yeah. She'll give her some fucking money. She'll buy a kitchen table. Yeah. Like, that's her response. Not that she would pay her anything to do something. She would blame it on, how dare I live in a mansion when her helper doesn't have a table. And it's like, hey, bitch, I know you feel better, but guess who's paying her? Yeah. You pay her. Right. So you could pay her more hourly, or you could buy her a kitchen table.
But what's the extension?
But you won't do that, will you?
What's the extension of that narrative? Is that what you throw all your money into the ocean to help everyone? Like, what is the extension of that kind of thinking?
It helps those. Look, at their core, they're selfish and cheap. Yeah. At their core. Yeah. They don't want to look in the mirror and see a selfish, cheap person who doesn't contribute to society. They want to see a person who cares. Yeah. So they make a lot of proclamations about Delia and her table while never paying for Delia and her table, and then accusing Elon Musk of having too much, and that's why Delia doesn't have a table.
Right, of course.
That's how they, and then they go to bed and they go, I'm a good person.
In the face of all of the evidence that socialism shrinks the pie for everyone, it's like what Churchill said, that capitalism is terrible except for all of the others.
Right. And somebody said, or Thatcher, someone said, socialism's good until you run out of other people's money.
Until you run out of other people's money. Keep expropriating wealth from productive
My mom
people.
loved that, but she wanted people like me to pay for Delia. entertain. Well, she never really thought about getting a job.
But if you had another
herself.
$1 billion, you couldn't pay for all of the Delias. So we would still have millions of Delias all
It's
over.
also
all
a
over
lot
the
of
world.
kitchen tables.
Yeah,
But it's a major challenge
it's flawed.
psychologically.
Yes, but they should stop feeling like heroes and stop making proclamations.
1,000%.
That's who they were, and we're seeing it today. But all that as it's may, my mom and dad were not successful, but my mom was thoughtful enough to know that she was not good, and not a good mom. So
In the context of guilt, what does that mean?
well, what my mom would do is every, Olympic season, she would say, look, I know I wasn't a good mom and I know I whatever.
During
And-
the Olympics?
Well, 4 years. It'd be a
Every
4-year run.
every 4
yeah,
years.
yeah.
Okay, no, you guys, but we did have skiing, didn't we, Ma?
She would get emotional during the decathlon.
Yeah, I thought you guys just shared a passion for the downslope. Once every 4 years, we'd bond.
Yeah. It wouldn't necessarily be connected to the Olympics per se, but every 4 years,
It's an annual.
several fortnights.
Yep.
She didn't own a fort, though. I just want to be clear.
Understood. So you guys were in a fort?
No. It wasn't
I tell
a
you, this
fort.
dumb guy's pretty slow.
Jeez, I got to get my analogies worked out. I'm confusing.
Yeah.
So she would go like, oh, I know I wasn't a good parent, but there was great love. But then I'm going to go back to doing nothing and acting how I acted and doing whatever.
Did you feel that she was in love? Like she was loved? They loved you rather?
No. What I realized, and it's why I have such a burr in my saddle. Although I don't own a horse, Duff. That's just not a horse.
No, so where do you buy these saddles at?
No, Duff. It's a phrase.
I swear to God, I'm not a moron,
I'm
guys.
turning a phrase. I didn't take a horse
I'm
here.
taking poetic license, Dove.
So what I realized, and it's why I have such a visceral reaction to it, which is when AOC makes the proclamation like no child should be put in a cage or whatever, it's like, bitch, you better work something out then.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming here unaccompanied, we can't just put you in the interior of the country. Like, work it out. No, you do no working out. You make proclamations.
Yeah,
and that's what my mom did. And so
everybody should have fill in the blank. How do we do that economically?
Right.
How do
So
we do it?
when my mom died, I was presented with a note, and the note was about a half page typed. But I didn't get a separate note from my sister. We got the same note.
One note. Meaning, wait, 2 copies or one note for the 2 of you?
We had 2 copies of the same note, which first off, all right, so just
That's insane.
let's just think
Dear
about this.
child.
That's insane.
Okay. My sister and I are very different people who've taken very different trajectories in life. And we really, although we're good and I get along with her and I love her, we have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did this, she did that. She cut hair, I got into comedy. It's just a totally different thing. So the idea, and we were raised different, and I was a sports guy, and she ran away from home when she was young. And the idea that there'd be one page that would sort of cover both of us is insane.
I like the idea to take care of your brother in parentheses or sister.
Dear sir, or ma'am.
Yeah.
So here's the whole point. My mom, before she died, went, I got to shit something out that covers me for eternity. Right. So I'll just write a thing that basically said, even though I didn't do any of the things that would have been an expression of love, I hope you understand there was great love. Yeah. Thanks, your moms.
Proclamation right to the end.
Right. And so I was like, oh, you just want to assuage not cooking any meals or saving up for college. You just thought you had something
On
to present.
top of that, you photocopied one letter.
You're going to
It's
present.
also weird. It was titled "To Whom It May Concern."
Yeah. To whom it may concern.
You may already be a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Permanent Dweller. That's what showed up with the penny saver. She wanted something to present St. Peter.
Right.
Yeah.
She wanted to say, St. Peter, hey, look, I didn't do anything that was good as a mom, but I did craft this.
Yeah.
I shit this out 10 minutes before I died. I gave a copy. Each kid's got a copy.
Was she a narcissist for real?
I would argue that creating one document, not a one for the son and one for the daughter, just a one document, proves my point. You're actually arguing with your own point when you're saying there was great love. It's like, You couldn't crap out a separate one for sis?
Did it say dictated but not read at the end?
That's
also?
right.
No, it's a cataclysmic irony.
Yes, it is. It's ironic.
But of the highest order.
Well, it's ironic that you craft.
I don't think it's ironic. I think it confirms who she was as a person.
No, but the irony is that she was trying to communicate devotion, even though there was no evidence of it.
I don't think so. I think what he says is she's trying
at the
to
gates.
make sure that she's good on the other side. I don't think she wrote that letter out of love. I don't know. I don't know her.
I think she did write it out of love.
I think, it's both. You're both correct in that she has crafted something to sort of say, look, long-suffering wife, I cheated on you and had many affairs, and I know I was an alcoholic, and I know I gambled all the money away, but there was great love.
Right.
There's great love. Now,
I guess love is a philosophical question for a different time.
And my argument is, no, there was not great love, because if there was great love, there'd be motivation
There's no
to
evidence
make
of
food.
great love.
Or at least two different letters.
Right. Or I'll tell you what. I'll make you a trade.
Right.
Keep your love.
Right.
I'll take
food.
I'll take potluck.
I'll take hot
like
food.
meatloaf and pot roast.
Yeah.
I'll take food.
Yeah.
And a college fund.
Yeah.
And a used car.
It's like executives
on
in
my 16th
LA
birthday.
going, "We love you. We love
I'll
you."
take this. You keep the love. I'll get
I'll
fed.
take that.
I'll take the food part.
Yeah.
How about
when
that?
I used to talk to executives, they'd be like, "We love you." It's like if my parents loved me like that, I would have been left on a doorstep. We love you. We love you. What does it mean? What did it mean?
But the irony part.
But was she a real narcissist?
The irony part that you speak of is that the letter, the fact that there was only one produced for the two kids, makes my point, and you actually torpedo your own. The reason you wrote the letter. It was to assuage yourself of this, or to have us not think a certain way. The fact that there's one letter means that's exactly who you were, and you've confirmed it.
Exactly,
You've
confirming who she is.
Right. It's funny.
It's incredibly funny. It's like a Woody Allen movie.
My saying that's never been truer is disappointers never disappoint. They always disappoint.
Yeah.
The people. It's like people that are late are always late, everywhere, all the time. Even at fucking places they want to go, they're late. And disappointers always disappoint.
Well,
and when I say never disappoint, I mean perfect. It's always on brand. It's always on brand.
Yeah.
If there was two letters and a Duesenberg parked in the garage with my name on it, and my stepdad pulled me aside and went, she wanted you to have something.
Disappointers always disappoint.
Always.
Believe someone after a while. You give somebody you
believe someone tells you when they're going to be
they tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Although I would argue I dated a girl for a long time that was always late when it was something that I wanted to do, but never late when it was something she wanted to do, and that was reason enough to break up with her. So that's a little different.
See, that always annoys me more because it proves that they can be on time.
I used to lie about when, dinner's at 8 when it was really at 8:30 so that we'd be there on time.
What?
She was hot in my defense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's how they learn it. That's the society turns a blind eye to the
I blame Ralph.
late.
He's encouraging bad behavior.
I will say this. I've been with more than one woman who was told.
I thought you were a virgin.
At Dub's dad's wedding.
Wait a second, you were there?
I was there. I blew your dad. I told you.
I'll be damned. This guy is so...
My knees still smell like transmission fluid from doing it
on the earth, on the junkyard earth. It felt like pavement on my knees.
Carolla's knee prints all over your junkyard.
All right, there's only one guy that wears tough skins with reinforced knees, and that's Carolla.
Yeah, that's the Laguna Seca room where Carolla got head.
So, I've been with many women who have been the recipient of the time lie.
Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean?
I mean, I just said
the flight's at 3, but you got to tell her it's at 2. You have to tell her it's 2. We can't afford it.
It only works for so long.
Right. Yeah.
Brian Callen is that person in my life. He gets the timeline.
We do the timeline.
We did Brian Callen to shoot. I give him the timeline.
And so what I'm saying to those people. And I now think that maybe up to 65% of women have been the recipient of the timeline. Their friends lie to them.
That's a
you
fair
start
percentage.
lying, you know. Oh, the movie starts at, you want to get into the fucking movie. You don't want to miss the previews. You got to lie, right? People should internalize that a little bit. Like, they should really take a look in the mirror and realize, I'm an adult who's being lied to by my community.
You're talking about a reflective capacity, and when you're being lied to, when people are laughing at your jokes, and buying you dinner like Ralph and pretending that nothing's
I've been laughing
problem.
at your jokes and buying the girls dinner. That's what I do.
You know, it's it's the same thing. It's you're asking someone who lacks a reflective capacity to be reflective.
I was on it once.
No,
I would generally do this. If it's a first date, if I'm on a first date, I'll lie about the time. So I'll say like, "Oh, dinner's at 7 when the reservation at 7:15.
15 minutes.
That buys me 30 minutes because you could start at 7:30 for the first date usually." And I had a girl show
So
up.
you have a
whole system.
whole policy.
He
about
structures his
lying.
life around lying.
Assuming on a first date, I don't know. Women run late, so that's
Right.
why I do it. But if they're showing up at the tail end of that, so they're showing up at 7:30, I will leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I will actually wait till they show up sometimes to tell them this is not who I am. You're disrespecting my timeline,
surprised by that.
and we'll leave. And I've had a girl once. I think I told you the story where when she came and I was leaving, she said, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well,
you
it's
did.
you know," and then I said, "It's like 30 minutes late. You haven't even called me."
I respect that about you.
And then she said, "Well, what did you want to show up? A Lamborghini or a Ford?"
Really?
And I said, "Well, I wanted you to show up on time. I didn't know what kind of car we were driving, right?"
Yeah.
And then I
How about
said,
just saying, "Go fuck
yeah.
yourself"?
I said something like, "I'm sure you're used to people putting up with this because you're so beautiful, blah blah." But
Yeah, you're
I'm
already
not.
complimented.
And then she started crying at the
Good.
restaurant. It was wild.
I love it.
Good.
It was
I
a
love
wild
it.
moment.
I love it.
I am guilty of very often swallowing my pride to get laid, but every once in a while, I try to do a little bit for humanity. and
Yeah, I'm not
say
that
something.
guilty of that.
Dove will walk out immediately.
Really? I want to hear this. And speaking of swallowing, did your dad blow that guy too?
No, it's
or
an
did he
excellent
just get
question.
blown?
I never asked. I
Okay.
said, is he a reciprocal kind of cat or?
Well, but what you're saying is, if you're a half hour late on the first date, this can be
Yeah,
a
it's
long
gonna be a long
relationship
thing, yeah.
of
I'm out.
tardiness.
Yeah.
I just cut something short with a girl. I said, do you know you said like about 12 times in the last 60 seconds? She goes, don't criticize. I said, listen, if you can't hear that, you can't hear anything. If you extend that out, I don't know what the next 2 dates are going to be. I mean, imagine
that's
how
an
horrible
interesting
life
thing.
gets if you're that
No, I
defensive.
have noticed, especially younger women and
I said,
especially
who are you hanging
younger
out
men.
with? You say like every 2 fucking seconds.
You try to coach them up a little bit, and they get really hostile, and you're like, I'm just telling you whatever, and they start getting
You
whatever.
should thank me for having that observation about you, as I would you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm making your life better.
Yes, you wouldn't know your pussy smelled if I didn't
Absolutely.
make that
You're like
honest,
a herring down there. I'm telling you.
I made the
Yeah.
observation.
You're going to show up
out
at
of
Ralph's. He's going to
love.
break up with you.
That's right. No, it's a generational thing because I grew up just being yelled at on football fields by guys and fat guys and windbreakers just yelling at me the whole time, and I took it as sort of. Then I walked off a football field and walked on a construction site and got yelled at by the guy's older brother, who was my foreman on a construction site, and I just thought, well, the guy cares enough to tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm doing and how to do it right, and I realized women didn't play enough sports. So they missed out on
they say that's why men are so much better handling rejection and handling adversity because we're so used to being denied dates with women that we're used to that.
And we're just losing.
Yeah.
I mean, I played 3 years. We only had 3 years of high school football, but I played 3 years of high school football.
Yeah.
My 2 varsity years, we were probably 4 and 14. You know, I was
learning to
majority losing, you know.
It's an important part of
I'm sorry to understand why your parents didn't love you.
Exactly. Had you been able to throw a fucking ball, your mother might have shown you some warmth.
I was an all Valley football player.
Wow.
My dad's house was across the street.
Oh, my God.
Across the street
he go to the
from the
games?
high school. No, he did not.
Holy shit.
And
Holy shit.
I could remember sitting in our living room, which faced the high school football field.
God.
I could see the lights, the glow from the lights, and I could hear the boom, 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 boom. I could hear the drumming from my dad's living room. But here's a trope in a movie. You ready for a movie trope? I forgot the first time it happened. I'll tell you one thing I never did. I never did the move where I was like in the middle of the game and I looked to the bleachers and I saw the empty seat.
Yes,
like, that's my dad. Jim Carolla would have been on that bench.
Yeah.
I'm like, that old fuck's nowhere near the stadium. I never looked. They would do
trope.
They do it. They'd be playing in the middle of the Gator Bowl. The quarterback would like get under center on the 33-yard line. He'd be yelling Omaha, and at some point he'd look and he'd spot. The stadium holds 116,000 people. He'd spot The open seat. By the way, a black guy would be sitting in. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. This is the third
seat.
quarter. A black guy would be sitting in that seat. The open seat for Dad.
Yeah.
He spots it. He knows the number. He's playing an away game. Yeah. How can he find the open seat?
The flu. Yeah.
And by the way, aren't the coaches pissed?
Yeah.
Like, listen.
Hey, get your head in the fucking game. Yeah.
Why would you read the defense instead of looking for the fucking
spot
dad's
that
seat?
guy in a split second. How about reading
You
those
couldn't see the nickel package?
the nickel package.
That started in one movie.
Oh, for sure. The looking at the phone before you hang it up is a big one.
Yeah.
The spitting blood after you punch in the face.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Another one that makes me mad is the 555 when it's unnecessary.
Yeah, right.
Like there's sometimes when you need to see the guy dialing or something, but when the guy's on the phone, I was, can I call you back?
Yeah.
Oh, your number. All right. 555. It's like you didn't have to say that. You just hang up.
Pretend to write it down.
Pretend to write it down.
Yeah, we know. You're making a phone call. The and also the minuscule bites of food when somebody goes into a scene, they're really hungry, they just got off a horse, they haven't eaten in 3 days, and then they go take one little pee. You know, is it those little? It's a trope. It's a trope.
And I think it was in. I'm looking at you, Dawson. In God, what was the college? The Program? I think it was The Program. Joe, I'm looking.
The Disney movie where they lied in the middle of the street. That one.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a Disney movie.
What about this?
It was.
Disney movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it was The Program. And in The Program, the quarterback had the white trash dad, and he got under center, and he did the move where he knew maybe his dad was taking a piss or grabbing a beer. Like, you know what I mean?
Or bend over.
I'm not going to spend that much time.
Bent over to blow a guy.
I'll been to football games. I'm in the beer line up top.
Why didn't your father show up?
Too busy nailing that rush solo.
He didn't like things or stuff. He didn't really know. He didn't know he was supposed to or something.
How's that possible? How's that wash?
I don't know, but my dad.
You have to be a schizophrenic to not know you should show up once in a while.
My dad had a bottomless sort of ability, like weird little things. Like one time I was at a little market with him up Beechwood Canyon, and I was buying some groceries or something, and he was like hanging out, sort of killing time, and there was a magazine that had me on the cover. It was like, I don't know, Wired magazine or something. I don't know, but I was on the cover.
It wasn't Sports Illustrated.
No, it was, but there was a Wheaties box.
Yeah.
And I saw my dad pick it up, like I was checking out, and I was kind of watching him, and he looked at it, and he sort of went like, Kind of looked at it for a minute, and then he put it back in, and we left, and he didn't flip it open.
But did he at least say, hey, look?
No, he didn't.
Wow.
He didn't open it.
That's incredible.
He didn't.
But that's incredible.
Had
what
you
does
not
that
looked
say
back,
about
you wouldn't
him?
have seen it. If you weren't looking at him, he would acknowledge it, or that's crazy.
No, but he didn't hide it. He didn't care. Like his thing was, his thing would be what's so.
Yeah, but that's profound. Yeah, but it's you can't really get away with that.
No, okay.
No, but it's next level. That's the crazy
one. I
one.
walked into brunch with David Lee Roth. We became friends. When I went to stop by my mother's house, and then after Dave left, I said, she said something about, I said something about, that guy is, he's a well-known guy. She said, we're all people. But how I felt is like, yes, we are all people, but you can also acknowledge that's not the everyday guest.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the inability to acknowledge that was some rejection of something. It's
weird.
It's layered.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It's
very
weird. It's the opposite of being a parent.
It's the total opposite.
It's the total opposite of being.
If my kid didn't trip while running down the hall one day, I would give him a hug. I'd be proud of him.
Oh, we have the Program dad scene. Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean,
that's a good pull, guys.
I'll make it real fast because I've bored the audience with this story a million times. But my mom's exactly the same. She showed up with a.
Sounds like
she showed up with a tape of Jon Stewart And she told me Jon Stewart's the funniest guy she's ever seen. She saw him on Oprah, and she loved Jon Stewart. And then she said to me, "Do you know who Jon Stewart is?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "We're on the same network."
It seems
And
unnecessarily
we had the
insulting.
same agent. And then at some point I said, "Yeah, I know Jon Stewart. He's a good friend of mine." And she said, "He's a little hit and miss." And she threw the tape away. We never watched the tape.
Fucking incredible. I was doing a cop show with Goldblum, and he said he told me his mother, after one of his movies came out, like a big movie early on in his career, was proud of it. His mother said to him, "I hear your movie's not doing so well."
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
I mean, it explains why you both do comedy, though.
Once in a while, I would say something to my grandmother who was active about, "Oh, sorry, Joe, you got this scene? Find my grandma putting me down just so these two can listen."
Oh, I'd love to
I don't want to claim to be the king of disinterested parents,
but you're top 5.
My maternal or paternal grandmother?
This is my mom's mom.
Okay, maternal.
Maternal. All right, sorry. We'll play the scene.
Got one more game left this season. I don't know how much I'll play, or if I'll play at all, but I'd like you to be there.
How would you feel about introducing your drunken dad to your friends? You think about that?
You don't have to be drunk. The game's at noon. We get drunk after the game. We don't need to tailgate.
I could deal with it if you could.
These guys are always these like pop pretty boys who are like 5'9" and 145.
He's got his collar up in the back, but down in the front.
Ticket for the game, 50-yard line seat.
50.
At least he knows where the seat is. That adds a little bit to the believability of it, right?
We'll see if they make it to midfield. Get him a ticket.
In Carolla's biopic, his father never shows up.
I'm never going to.
I didn't mean the whole.
Can we start it from the opening credits?
I was looking for the scene where he looked and saw the open seat, not that act 1 of the movie. I was talking about the trope of looking at a stadium and seeing an open seat, right? But that was just the whole scene about him and his. I don't know why you would arrive at that scene. Is what. Well, hold on. Do we not have the scene?
we have the whole movie, so we'll go to that.
Right, but stop when you find the scene I described in great detail.
Yeah.
That's me being passive aggressive.
It's a good job.
But this is my grandmother shortly before she died.
Okay,
and I'm a celebrity.
All right.
I never think of Adam as a star, and I think people do, but I don't think he has big charisma or charm, but he is intelligent. Maybe he
Wait a
gets
minute.
some of
Play the
that
last
from
20
me.
seconds back, because she gets a double dig. I know it's funny. This is my grandmother.
This is fuck.
Shortly before she died.
And how old is she? Like 90?
She's like 93.
2 generations of narcissism.
She's telling a camera crew.
That's there for you.
That's there because I'm shooting a TV show.
This is phenomenal
Not a fan.
stuff. Phenomenal
Here
stuff.
it is. That's good.
I never think of Adam as a star, and I think people do, but I don't think he has big charisma or charm, but he is intelligent. Maybe he gets some of that from me.
The one thing you do have is attributed to her.
Perfect. It's
That
all
is
fucking
a great
excellent.
soundbite.
If I got 19 seconds to tell anyone where I come from, that's it.
Should put that
That's
quote
all
on
you
your
need to
tombstone.
play.
Low charisma. And by the way, she gave birth to my mom.
That is
And my mom
incredible.
took that flag
And your mother
ran with
found
it.
your father, who has a lot to do with that. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, but on both sides.
At least
Oh,
she
yeah.
said, at least other people do. So she acknowledged that you're a celebrity. That's
Yep.
something. It's
Yeah,
a monicum
yeah.
of something.
Nah, it's
She
nothing.
doesn't think
It's-
of me
it's
as
a way to insult.
celebrity, but
Right,
other people do.
At least she didn't have to put that other line in. That's a little something.
It's nothing.
Other people do, but I didn't lack charisma.
Yeah.
Charisma. Charisma's invisible. All grandmothers. Charles Manson's grandmother thought he had a lot of charisma.
What the
Did you guys
fuck?
get the seat view? You got.
You know, in psychological lexicon, they call it a holding period. That even if you had one crazy narcissistic parent, if you had one that was a proper 3-dimensional experience, you'll be okay. If you have both, the probability that you're going to be okay in life is really low.
Yeah.
So you beat some odds. Man.
All right. I'll take that.
yeah.
All right. We got the scene, I guess.
I would love a little bit of backstory for about 20 minutes.
Joe Kane will be starting at quarterback.
It's the
Somebody took a sticker, wrote Dad on the seat.
He's having a beer with Adam's father.
By the way, all right, let's see it again. Just from a filmmaking standpoint, did we have to stay on the seat for 10 Mississippi and zoom in tight on it, or can we just see that
that's the standard problem with all movies. They assume people are idiots.
Right.
Everything.
Keep pulling in. Pull. Tighter.
Keep going. Tighter.
Tighter.
We all needed to know the seat number. It was very important for the storyline.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yep. There's 81,000 people in that stadium, but he found his dad's empty.
He found it like that.
Found the empty seat.
Yep.
And by the way, his dad's a bigger douche than mine because all his dad had to do was show up. He didn't. First off, you can bring a flask.
And he also said he was coming, which makes it even worse. Like,
but why is he a bigger douche than yours? Your father didn't show up either.
Your father would say, "I'm on my way," and not show up because that's what he did.
I think they probably charged like $4 to get into my high school
football game. I would argue he might be
game.
better than your father because he didn't want to show up intoxicated and embarrass his son. So there was at least some protective.
Yeah, my dad didn't drink.
There you go. That makes it even worse.
I know.
Your father was bone sober, couldn't make it to the game.
All right. No, don't bring a bone in your dad.
Wait a second.
We'll take a little break. Mayhem's going to come in here. He's going to bring the news, and we'll do that right after this. All right. New Year's resolution. Vow to eat healthier, but what about your beloved pets and their nutrition? Yeah, you're doing better, but they're getting a bunch of dried up old kibble. Dr. Dennis Black created Rough Greens and Meow Greens to bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins and minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and more. See, pet food is dead food, and you eat dead food, soon enough, you're going to join it. You need to bring it to life. All, by the way, in a tasty formula your dog or cat will love. It'll improve their coat, digestion, energy, and mean less vet bills. I've been doing this with Phil, holding the sack right now. VitaSmart. You don't have to buy food and keep it in the refrigerator. You just sprinkle this on top of the food you're currently serving your dog or your cat. Get a Jumpstart trial bag. It's normally $20. It's free with the promo code Adam. You just cover shipping. It's a free Jumpstart trial bag. That's it. You just go to ruffgreens.com. Use the code Adam. Try it out for free. Your dog's going to love it, and you'll notice the difference quickly in your dog's vigor and health. Rough Greens, so good, your pet will ask for it by name.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Adam, Elizabeth from San Luis Obispo. My friend and I were having a discussion over the term banned books. My argument is that we live in a great time where you can order any book at the tip of your finger at any time of the day, and it gets delivered to your house. And just because it's not in a school library or a county library and is inaccessible there does not mean it's a banned book. If it were banned, you'd probably go to jail for reading it, like you would in North Korea. She, of course, disagrees. So my question is, what say you? What do you believe, Adam? Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Well, it's all horseshit, obviously. Like, look, I'll give you an example, like banned book. So, like, Hobby Lobby said, we're religious and we're not paying for birth control pills. You can have insurance, but we're not paying for birth control pills. And then they go, denied their employees birth controls. Like, that's not denying. That's not paying for. I don't buy lunch every day for these guys, but I don't deny them lunch. They can go provide their own lunch for themselves.
It'd be hilarious if you did,
The banned book, look, first off, they don't believe a fucking word they're saying. That's like, oh, in Atlanta, if you hand someone a bottle of water, people can go vote and bring their own fucking water. Everyone brings their water everywhere. I went to the fucking gym today, I brought water. You can stand in line in regard. No, you can't go talk to them within 100 feet or give them shit within 100 feet. Fine, bring your own water. These are not, by the way, these are not problems. They don't care about these problems. It's like the school to prison pipeline. What happened to it? It's gone. Kids in cages. What happened to it? It's gone. This is Jim Crow. This is Jim Eagle. This is so much worse. These people can't vote in Atlanta. They don't book bans. They don't believe any of it. They don't care about it. They don't think Trump, he's Hitlerian. Hey, come to the White House, we'll shake hands. You want a brandy? This is awesome. They don't believe any of that. Everyone can get a book anytime, anywhere, whatever. It's not a thing. Yeah. Nobody even goes to the fucking library anymore. They don't believe it is what I'm saying. So
At first, I thought she was talking about actual band books, like books about bands.
About bands.
I was more excited.
Yeah, Rolling Stones, the early years.
The Aerosmith book is a great book. I recommend it.
That's right. All right, sorry. What do we got?
We got some news out of Missouri. A teacher is accused of paying her underage students in cash. Give them alcohol and drugs in exchange for sex. Yeah, this lady.
You know what I like about dudes? It's like, well,
I know.
We'll decide if this is a crime or not. Let's see a picture.
Exactly.
That's how guys are wired. She's hot. Okay.
Yeah. She's not that bad at looking. Yeah. She looks like she spent some money on some lip injections or some such
Can we see
thing.
Her?
Yeah, I
she
think
looks a lot like a subscription alert.
He looks all right. Yeah, the funny thing about this story is that she was paying dudes joints to blow them. And allegedly
paying them to blow them.
Exactly. Yeah, she had some type of oral fixation apparently, and they.
She paid him to. You said joint.
Yeah, she'd like give them weed or
joints.
Give them weed or give
drugs
them
for the right to blow them.
For the right to blow, but also
got
have
the economics
sex
backwards.
Exactly
by the way.
right.
It's a real win-win for the guy.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, but this is a statutory rape case, so she's like getting like underage dudes. Yeah, cash app them.
Wow.
The way that she got busted was there was a rumor going around.
There was a room full of kids with big smiles on their faces?
No, everyone has a camera phone, so somebody filmed her at some point. I mean, she was part of that. And then her brother-in-law caught her in bed with an underage boy.
How underage are we talking about, by the way?
It didn't specify in the story. I don't know. She taught
listen, everybody I went to high school with but me was fucking somebody when they were 16.
Yeah.
So they're underage technically. Now, they weren't having... I always had the friend that had the sex with the babysitter, situation.
I fooled around my babysitter. Yeah.
You did? What was his name?
Jimmy. Yeah.
Do you have a picture of this person?
Of Jimmy? That'd be cool.
Yes, we do. So how old were you when you...
I was like 10.
Wow.
What?
10 or 11.
And you had what does that mean?
I said I fooled around. I didn't say I banged. The first time I banged, I was 13 years old. I was in Mexico.
I remember that story. Yeah.
I paid a prostitute. I was ahead of my years.
What part of Mexico were you in?
Who gives a fuck what part of Mexico? He's like, what part of Mexico?
How old was the babysitter?
Like 15.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
The whore was 57.
Exactly.
Here up on the screen is our.
I would go to Tijuana. That's why I'm so because you're East Coast. So I'm like, where are you?
This was I don't know. My father was dating a woman. They ended up at a resort. I was 13. I was going into high school next year, and I wanted to lose my virginity, so I paid for it. And I still remember she was a sweet enough person.
You still send Christmas cards, if I'm not right.
Yeah.
And did you walk over there?
I walked into a bar, tequila on the shelf. It was a proper bar area, and I walked up. And in Mexico at that time, U.S. dollars would, they would look the other way. I walked up, lady said, "How?" Smiled. I understood. It's an unwritten language between a 13-year-old and a hooker.
Sure.
And we ended up in a little cabana.
Sounds like a good language.
A little rusty cabana outside of the main bar area.
Your love language is pesos.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I only bang for pesos.
And that's why Jeff has Mexican herpes.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
Condom?
It was good. Yeah, there was condom. There was a condom, but I remember the cabana and the door didn't close right. But it was when I was
romantic.
Did they ask
wild
if you wanted a blowjob or sex?
I don't remember. I think she started out. She got it hard. I don't think she blew me. I think she just got it hard and sort of put the condom on.
Did you speak any English at all?
You don't. What am I at? The UN? I got to negotiate a treaty. We don't need to talk a whole lot. I prefer not to talk to white women either.
They got the language of love.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you just go like this? You go here or here?
No, we had the language of love. No, we understood what was going on. Yeah, I said I'm all men, not like Ralph.
No,
that's what I said to the
I'm still waiting to become all men.
Ralph told me the first whore he was with was late. He just got up and left.
Exactly.
The problem was he was in his own car.
Yeah.
So
I told her 7 o'clock. I waited until 7:30.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. She's not super attractive. But
if she's paying me and blowing me, it's a great deal.
No, I agree. I agree.
Of course.
It's not like she was asking for money. She was giving them a real win.
I think we can draw a distinction.
It's all about how old the kid
between males and females in this activity, and that if you got 16-year-old dudes, good luck. I'm fine.
It's only that crazy left that draws some equivocation between 16-year-old guys banging a 22-year-old teacher, as if that's nearly as offensive as some scumbag male, teacher. But I mean, it's
Can I ask you a question on that though? Here's my question. What age will you be not okay with it? If they're 12, 13, 14? I was curious because if you're drawing the delineation.
I was trying to bang immediately.
Me too.
10.
So there's a scale and a consideration. It would take more time than we have on the show. You fucking left.
I'm just curious because all the numbers are arbitrary, regardless for what it is.
No,
whether
they're
it's
not arbitrary.
Whether
16's
it's not
arbitrary.
It's not like something pops out of your head. And you're like, now I'm ready.
I think it's an algorithm.
It's a rhythm. Yeah.
And it may be an algorithm based on more than one piece of data.
I'm more for that.
That's correct.
I'm more for that.
Yeah,
Some
I
sort
agree.
of litmus
I
test.
agree.
Than just saying an age is fine.
I played football with a guy named Chung Hua.
Yeah.
He was a Chinese guy.
We couldn't figure that out.
His calves were so big, he wore thigh pads on his shins and would break cinder blocks. I mean, that guy was 16 and a half. He was perfectly, he was no victim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think there should be more of a test than just, now they hit this age, they're fine to do everything.
I want size, scale, hair, muscle mass,
testosterone content,
penis length.
Yeah, we're gonna get FADA. What is that drug testing?
USADA.
USADA involved. A semen sample and the blood sample and the hair sample and urine sample.
A 15-year-old Mayhem Miller is very different than some young prepubescent boy. Than this half a Fanuc right here.
Well, I mean, what about LeBron James when LeBron James was 15 and a half? LeBron James has been dunking on a regulation hoop since he was 12, right? So
that's why I'm just saying that playing devil's advocate to that, it's not all things are not equal.
Not all.
That's all.
We need USADA to get involved. I agree.
But the left is saying it is all equal.
And it's also not if it's men and females, a different situation too. But
of course,
you know
that
Ralph. You know that I came up with a foolproof way as an attorney to get these guys to get, if she's my client, she walks.
Okay.
It's my attorney.
Yeah.
All right, let me hear your defense.
Super easy.
It's
super easy.
They were asking for it. Thank you, Your Honor.
I put the boys
on
up
the
on
stand.
put them up on the stand.
Yeah, he's got a beard.
Right, because it's 7 years later. And I go, you were traumatized? Yes, I was.
Yeah.
You had to seek counseling? Yes, I did. Do you look at yourself as a victim? Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, now remember you're under oath. Have you ever beat off to this?
Yeah. Constantly.
So you were a victim.
Yeah.
But yet you beat off to this crime. So you think when people are victims of arson or battery or assaulted at an ATM, you think they go home and rub one out?
That's an excellent defense.
You cannot say you were a victim of something and then conjure it and beat off to it. You are no victim.
Internet search history to the court.
There
are notes in there.
That's right. Remember, you're under oath.
No, that's excellent.
That's it. You jack off to any... But listen,
it's no longer a crime. If you've jacked off to it, you cannot. It is no longer an active crime.
It may be a crime, but you were not a victim. You can't beat off the stuff.
Well, hence
be a victim.
Yeah, the nature of the crime. You should drop this whole podcast shit and go into law.
I should go into law
and defend people that need it.
Defend teachers.
Right. Now you'd be doing something. You wouldn't be able to afford the Malibu gig, but that would be civil rights level.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
I give all right, sorry, go ahead.
No, in more news, guys, moving on. Trump says Canada should merge with the U.S. and has been trolling Trudeau as he steps down. Yeah, Trump referred to Canada as the 51st state in an ongoing joke that he made last fall, referring to the Prime Minister as Governor Justin Trudeau.
Sometimes I go, half the Trump stuff. But sometimes I go, oh, get the fuck out of here. And then sometimes I go, why not? We had, this country had a bunch of territories and the French owned Louisiana and stuff like that. And I'm sure
Mexico owned California.
Yeah, there was some version of us sitting around in 1827 going, we can't have Louisiana, the French own it.
Yeah,
What are you, nuts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something like that. And then we go, now it's like, we got LSU.
Unless we negotiate with the French. That's how Alaska. I mean, Seward's icebox, we bought Alaska for 22 cents from the Russians.
We still have we have land all over the world, not just in America.
Oh, yeah.
We own places all over the world.
Yeah, I'm just saying, at first blush, it sounds insane. And then the next one where you go, oh.
I don't know how realistic it is.
We're rolling tanks on Ottawa.
And Ottawa. No, Trump is like that. Every now and then he'll say something. You go, that's crazy. And you go, is it?
Yeah.
Like one time I used to have a bit about it, but the journalist asked him about unemployment in West Virginia. And he goes, you give everybody a job. And I was like, wait a second. He may have a point.
Yeah. No, I think that is his thing. He's got this.
He threads a needle.
Well, he's got this. Look, what people don't understand is the rest of the world thinking he's off is a positive for us. We look at it as a negative. They know who Kamala Harris and Joe Biden is, and Putin can do whatever he wants. But like there's a story where Vladimir said to Trump, like Trump said to Vladimir, like, you invade this, whatever, and I'm going to nuke you. And then Vladimir went, you're not going to do that. And he said, well, who knows?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So he's doing tariffs right now.
Right,
He likes to
the
play.
who knows is enough to get people to stop a lot of
the cards are close to the
a lot of
vest.
shit.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Who
Well,
else is
also
fucking
in that
someone?
story, Trump has mentioned Canada taking over Panama and buying Greenland. So I don't know.
that's
Well,
right.
But I did read
It
that
seems-
now Greenland's trying to get independent from whoever's part of Greenland.
The Danes. I
Speaking
believe.
of Panama,
Or Norway or something.
your mom did not care that.
My mother? In Panama?
Well, David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
No. She didn't.
Panama.
she didn't.
The best song ever.
No, she didn't care at all. And I could give a fuck about celebrity worship. I'm just saying, acknowledge it wasn't the regular. It was a story with Dave.
No,
King.
But then also, by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
there is the other side of that where people get too excited around a
I
celebrity.
just said
That's not-
celebrity worship is garbage. It's stupid.
No,
but that's not what we're talking
it's
about.
the theme. It's the theme. I told my mom, I don't know, whenever Trump won or whatever, years ago or whatever, I know Trump. I'm friends with him, to some degree. And I got an idea who he is, and I don't think. And she goes, you don't know Trump.
Right.
And I said, I do know Trump. And she goes, no, you don't know. I said, well, I do, and I do know him, and I've worked with him, and I've done stuff with him, and I do know him. She's like, but you don't know him. And I was like, hold on, are you trying to talk your son out of knowing the president of the United States? Most parents would go the other
It's another extension
direction.
of that video with your grandmother.
Wow,
It never ends.
She gave
Never ends in your
birth to
family.
that. No,
It's fucking bananas.
I know.
I don't know how you make it through the night. I mean, that is some
I
operation.
started saying to her, are you saying to me I don't know Trump?
Yeah,
Because I
what does
do
that
know
mean?
Trump.
I
Or
just
you're
told
saying
you.
I don't know what's lurking deep in the
maybe
heart?
maybe she was like, well, how do we know it? We don't really know anybody. Maybe she meant it more
Did she
metaphorically.
clarify that? I don't understand.
I don't know, but she could have went, oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Or where'd you meet him?
Yeah.
Or how is he in real
Was she
life?
that oblivious to your career that she didn't even know that you were on that show with him or whatever?
I don't.
Do you
I
think
don't
that would
know.
at least one of her friends at Bridge Club would be like, "Oh, I saw
Right?
your son on the show," something like that. You know?
Yeah.
Rich club. That's good. That's rich.
They were just resistant to experiencing you as something that was valuable.
And you don't think it's jealousy? You don't think it's jealousy?
No. They didn't know. No, they didn't. They didn't know what to do. So what I'm saying is, like, my family would be the kind of family where if you said, but there's a lot of families that are this way. You go, I just bought a new Ferrari, and they'd go, oh, the insurance must be through the roof.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
the Goldblum story
instead
with
of-
his mother about
Yeah.
she was like, the hair is not doing well.
Instead
know?
of But my
But
family.
where does that come from? Is
that.
my question. Yeah, no, you guys are funnier and weirder than that. But where does it come from? I don't relate to that at all. I have a 6-year-old kid. It wouldn't dawn on me to try to diminish some aspect of
I've been doing that to your son, brother. Really.
but it wouldn't dawn on me. You have a theory? You got a lot of theories. What's
I have
this?
a theory.
Okay.
I still think
They're locked in their own bubble. They're smart people, but they have their own
But why? It's your
worldview.
kid.
That's my
I
theory
think it's
on the whole
jealousy.
thing.
I think it's jealousy. I think
But
they
it's
don't
your-
want to see
yeah,
that
it's
their
a
kid is
but
doing
it's
better than
another
them.
guy to feed because they're in their own bubble.
I guess,
I
man.
think that, I don't know. What do you think? They were your parents. I'm looking at it as a corner man. I'm seeing like every time you tell me another story, it becomes more apparent that they were like severely invested
But
in
what
their
is that
own
bubble?
mind.
Is that
in their own
narcissism?
mind.
But isn't that
I don't think
bubble
it's
narcissism?
narcissism. I think it's like a operating system that he has used to benefit himself by hyper intelligently spouting out stuff like a trumpet player.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, look, let's just call it a perfect storm, a bouillabaisse of depression.
Yeah.
You know, just like low grade general bummerdom. Like let's not ever devalue the value of just a general bummer.
Yeah.
Like you know, everything sucks. You know, so it's like a general mid-grade depression that's going on, mixed with a not wanting to connect, not wanting to be intimate with someone, like a connection. Like, how did that feel? How did that make you feel? Like
the denial of you clearly saying, I know him, and she's saying, no, you don't. I'm going to stick with my guy. I do think there's some sort of, not maybe jealousy is the wrong word, but not wanting to see their son doing better than they
Tell
did.
me about your father, Ralph.
No, they didn't even know.
You want to talk about that or no?
No, it doesn't matter. I've talked about it so much.
No, but it's an interesting, just real quick, to give him the Cliff's Notes.
My dad was worth a shit ton of money.
In the hundreds of millions.
And I thought we had a great relationship, and ended up that when he passed, he did not. The bulk of his money, his fortune, went to his wife.
And Ralph was convinced that he had
We
X
had been
amount
told
coming.
that.
He was been
certain
told
things-
that.
and then it just didn't happen.
That's pretty intense.
We found that
That's
after.
fucked up. Bro. It's crazy. I get it.
That's like losing $100 million worth of Bitcoin.
And I would have told you we had the
done
greatest
it.
relationship until that happened.
Well,
that's the part that's absurd.
Wait,
he knew
until
his parents
he
were
died?
fucked up.
Until the will was read.
So, damn. He
Yeah,
was
he was shocked. Yeah.
All right, so
get it.
let me see if we can
Unpack this.
If we can unpack this. Did you get a Tony Bennett CD? Out of that?
Something, but it's
Did you get your own Tony Bennett CD?
So there are hundreds of millions of hundreds of millions,
Hundreds of millions.
like 500 million.
No, like 200-300.
200-300, and this would have been in assets.
In assets and
cash
and stocks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
Portfolio. Out
Portfolio. So a lot of stuff. And then when he died, there was a will, and you guys got along well.
Yeah, and he was married though for
That's the shocking part.
33
If
years to someone else. You know, my parents got divorced when I was. I mean, they separated when I was like 5, or maybe not even 5.
Right. And so then when the will was read,
yeah, we found that after that it wasn't.
He went at what age?
81.
All right. And the will was read, and you guys were always close, and didn't have a falling out and whatever. And the will
but in
was
theory, we have been told. In the interest
and
of
you
full
were
disclosure.
told,
and they were close.
No, but I would
That's
say this:
the crazy
we
part
have been told that the assets that are currently with my stepmother will transfer to us at some point. But who knows if that's true?
But either way,
Yeah,
right.
it is, yeah.
All right, and how old's your stepmother?
65, I think.
There was a big
brakes in her car.
But that's the thing. It's not like she was 85.
They had a good. They were happy for 30 something years.
Nothing a cut brake line can't sort out.
The truth is that if I'm playing devil's, I try to always look at every side of everything. It's his money. It's not like it was my money,
Yeah, I would look. The part where he leaves it to her is fine, but the part where he didn't carve something out,
Yes, it's not
something,
fine.
but it's not. Yeah,
for
it's
you
not
and
Your
your
kid.
sister, brother,
my brother. I have a twin brother.
You have a twin brother.
Yeah.
So I mean, he could have taken $10 million and just sort of
that would have
put
been
it-
nice. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, well,
Well, okay.
His
can I say
twin
this
brother's a
too?
foot shorter than him.
The,
I have a twin brother. We were born in different years. It's kind of a weird story.
Yeah.
I was born New Year's Eve. He was born January 1st. I'm 6'5.5". He's 5'7.5".
Whoa.
Yeah. I was born in '69. He was born in '70s.
Yeah.
So we're twins born
And-
in
and his
Danny
brothers-
DeVito?
different days, different years, different decades,
Yeah.
like Danny DeVito. And also, they didn't know that he was there until I was born.
Wow.
Because they didn't do sonograms that often back then.
Right.
And also, we were very premature together. We weighed less than 8 pounds.
And correct me if I'm
Together.
wrong, but your brother's a heterosexual, unlike you.
Unlike me. Yeah.
Wait a
I follow
sec.
in your footsteps.
Now what?
Wait a second. Wait.
Do you feel like, and I don't know what kind of terms you're on with your stepmom.
Pretty good terms.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You feel
Not
like
good
it's
enough to get a couple of-
a little incumbent upon her to,
That's what I asked him.
a little cheese.
That's what I asked him.
My thought process with all of this is that it was his money. He can do what he wants with it. There's no,
But that wasn't his question.
right. But I think, of course, it'd be great if one day she goes, "Hey, guess what? We just decided to give
His
you 50
question
million."
was, don't you feel it's incumbent upon her? Which was what my question
I don't know. I don't. I try to. I'm
I'm going to have Adam litigate this for you. We're going to get a couple of bucks.
Like I said to you, WS, I try to always look at every side of everything and not just be so dig heels.
Yeah, that's how you have arrived at neither side. Right in the middle.
Do you beat off to this?
I do.
Exactly.
That's true. I do.
Any asset, and there wasn't much, but there's a couple beater houses in the valley. Those went to the step parents in my situation as well. So I'm a low grade version of
We
what
expected that from your parents.
That we
I didn't
expected.
expect
They were super happy for 30-something years. They had a great relationship. So I don't know.
When did the will get relitigated?
It
Was
never
there
got changed. It never got changed. Yeah, but
never got changed. The whole time he was just gassing
And they
you
left
up,
him with the
telling
impression
you
that he was the
that's the
recipient.
weirdest part. Is that
Weird.
he just lied to you the whole time.
Now, is there any other place for that money to go when she goes?
she has family. She has a sister.
Your
They have
presumption
kids.
is that he outlives her. And there's only
I
a
know.
10-year spread.
No, you're right.
She's not 100 years old.
And
with
also
the AIDS.
tall people.
And with the and he's AIDS. And the guy's got full-blown AIDS. You don't bang that many guys without picking up a light AIDS.
And also, very tall people don't live long lives. We just
You
don't.
know what? I said that to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
And one of the most uncomfortable conversations I've ever had.
yeah.
I interviewed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I just said to him, I go, now look, a lot of it's just hitting your head on door jams.
Yeah.
Because
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
No,
Ralph,
you-
Ralph 6'6".
Listen, I was a builder. You're a builder, Dove. 6'8" is the height of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
regulation
sure, yeah,
door jam.
yeah, yeah.
So if you're under 6'8", you should be okay. But if you put cowboy boots on, there's going to
Yeah.
be an issue.
Yeah,
but if
yeah.
you're in Mexico,
Yeah.
where they don't really have
Or
it.
you're
also
wearing,
in Europe,
or you're wearing a
everywhere.
pair of pumps like Jackie
Yeah,
over here.
Yeah. So you're wearing espadrilles and you're in Europe. You're gonna whack your head.
Yeah,
on a
you're
couple door
gonna
jams.
bang the forehead. Yeah.
Here it's 6'8", but Kareem's 7'2" or whatever. But I was interviewing Kareem and I was like, so being tall and not seeing a lot of guys in their 80s that are 7 foot tall. They don't live as long. You give it some thought, and he goes, "What are you talking about?"
It's amazing.
And I go, you just don't see guys that are 75, 85 years old. They're 6'9". Walking around. And he
There's
goes,
no sense of irony.
he goes-
how do you not
he goes-
experience that as
he
an
goes-
interesting question?
He goes, No, I know what you mean.
Okay.
I go, you look really tall guys. Like, they just don't do it. He goes, yeah, I never thought about that.
Same.
It's like, oh my
by
God.
the way, the same exact thing on SDR. I interviewed Joe Manganiello, from True Blood and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And
SDR's our podcast, by the way.
yeah, and he's my height, 6'5" and a half, something like that. So we were in with that, same size. Does it bother you that we're not going to live as long as other people? He goes, why would you tell me that? Like, that's not true. I was like, of course it's true. Look at dogs. Like a little dog lives much longer life than a big dog. And he got so upset about it.
Really?
Yeah, it was really weird. Yeah.
Even though he was banging Sofia Vergara?
Yeah, at the time. Now they're divorced, I think. But
I know, but still, that takes
he
the
was
edge
like,
off.
It takes the edge off. It
he
always
was surprised
sands
and
the-
miserable about it. It
Really?
yeah. And I thought we were both the same height. I thought,
Mickey Rooney's still alive. So maybe some millions in the future,
Maybe, we'll
but
see.
maybe. But weird.
No, that's a weird one.
Weird that they didn't break off.
You break off a piece.
Well, it's kind of a thing where you'd go, you have assets, or he had assets.
He had assets, he had cash.
Right.
And
And
You
so
had
he'd
zero
go,
cash and one big building. It gets difficult.
Right.
There's
This
a
guy
lot
could have
of,
split
a lot
something
of
up.
estate taxes that come involved. They give it to me, where if she gets, wives don't pay any estate taxes.
well, that's
so there's something to that.
So tell me about the security systems at your stepmom's house.
Yeah.
all right, let's do one more. Man.
All
Do you
right.
have another
Bill
story?
Maher tells somebody they're too woke. After refusing to judge Islam over his treatment of women. Bill Maher called 2.5 Men star Jon Cryer crazy woke after that actor refused to criticize Islam and a strict dress code for women.
Jon Cryer used to be my neighbor. But we'll play the clips a minute 52 long.
Wouldn't the woke be the first people to criticize Islam about their treatment of women?
They're
You'd
very
think so.
they're
You'd
inconsistent
think so.
that
It's
way.
an inverse kind
I
of
didn't
what
hear
woke
what
would
the actual
been
quote-
here.
well, here-
Okay.
It's like gays for Palestine.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's hear it.
They also did a great piece some years ago about a woman in London who was in the Muslim neighborhoods, and they're screaming at her because she's wearing a skirt and stuff like that. And the point of it was, there are places in Western civilizations that are like run not by Western standards. And that doesn't mean they're just different.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are cultural enclaves everywhere.
Right, but we should agree that women should be able to wear what they want.
Can we pause it for a second? Listen, I don't know who his interior designer is, but he looks like he's in a Lily Tomlin sketch where she played the 9-year-old girl. It's because Bill is 5'0", but he got an armchair where the arms go up an extra ridiculous. 9 inches, which go up to nipple. Your armchair arm shouldn't be nipple height.
That's so weird.
His head barely gets above the top of the thing. He looks like a 9-year-old boy
playing dress up
in a talk show. Like, this is the wrong chair. Like, when a chick's a little chunky and they go, you need vertical stripes, vertical stripes. And like, I feel that way with Bill.
Yeah.
He looks like a dwarf. He looks like Billy Barty got dropped onto a chair.
If they were to pull back, his feet would be dangling and swinging back and forth.
And I don't see him drinking a brandy snifter. I see him with a giant lollipop.
Yeah. No, he looks like
using that chair.
He looks like he's out of the Hobbit movie, and the one sat in the wrong chair. Yeah.
He needs a new chair.
Yeah, it's odd. He looks like he's being eaten by his own chair.
Forget about the content of this. Let's talk about the architecture.
Is Bill sitting in a hippopotamus? Why is that so big?
It's really, he looks like when you were 9 and you'd put your dad's dress shoes on and walk around the house. It looked like he's slopping around in this giant chair.
Yeah, it's an odd operation.
It's also odd because the guest has a normal chair, which makes it look even more ridiculous.
Yeah. It's the same chair, just to the normal size man.
Normal size person.
Wait a minute. Now I'll throw a tape on this shit right now. The space between Jon Cryer's his armrest and the top of his chair is about 16, 17 inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go back to Bill's seat. Bill's are all jacked up.
It's about
jacked up.
Yeah. All right. So this...
What's a different shaped back on that chair?
This chair was designed to make people look shorter.
Yeah.
Like, they have lifts for shoes like Stallone's.
Yeah.
Stallone's boots make him an extra inch.
That would be a good chair for me.
That'd be great for you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't dwarf everybody. You need that chair.
Get that chair in my house.
Bill needs a log. Like, he needs something manly.
He should be sitting on telephone books in that chair.
That's right.
You got to be confident in yourself to be 5'2" and sit in a chair made for Ralph.
I'm going to do the move. I'm going to get the quarter apple and slide it under the pillow. The quarter apple from the set.
Get a double apple from the set.
Double apple under the seat. I'll blow fun into it.
Yeah, he's trying to project like kingly or something, but it's coming out car seat.
Yeah. You look like you look like an elf.
He's a strap in over
he's
top.
going kingly, but looking elf. Yeah,
there's Cheerios in the corner right there.
Listen, Prince understood. This guy wore pumps his whole life. This guy's got a double-sized chair.
Yep.
Yeah, Prince wouldn't work in this chair either, but he would immediately have it removed.
He would pull right out of that office if
he wouldn't do the interview. Get that chair out.
Get the chair out and get in a little chair. Make me look like a giant.
I did this show. Was he in that chair when I did this show?
I think you got a makeover. I think it's different.
You'd remember
now.
if he was, because you'd have talked about it for 60 minutes.
Yeah, you definitely would have mentioned it.
He was serving up so much scotch. It's kind of a blur. But I think I dropped a couple N-bombs and blamed the Jews for a few things.
Blame the Jews. Well, who can avoid that after a scotch?
All right, well, we'll hear the rest of it. Sorry, John. Oh, wait, where am I?
Oh, there's you. Yeah, Club Random.
Looks like you're in the same chair.
You look like you're in the baby chair.
Those chairs are
I look
giant.
like a hood ornament.
Those chairs, you look like a Rolls Royce ornament. Those chairs are giant.
Jon Cryer said, "I don't want to sit in that chair. Give me a normal
John's
chair."
like, I need another chair.
Yeah, that was smart.
He's got a much better publicist than I do. All right, let's hear what his.
They also did a great piece some years ago about a woman in London who was in the Muslim neighborhoods, and they're screaming at her because she's wearing a skirt and stuff like that. And the point of it was, there are places in Western civilizations that are like run not by Western standards. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean they're just different.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are cultural enclaves everywhere.
Right, but we should agree that women should be able to wear what they want.
Yes.
If you don't agree with that, then you're not a liberal to begin with.
Well,
women,
yes.
call me a crazy liberal, but I think women should have freedom.
I agree as well.
Okay.
I agree as well.
But they don't in these neighborhoods. It was the 60 Minutes piece that they did.
One could argue that that women don't have the freedom to dress where they are in dress how they want to dress in many places. They used to get catcalled all the time. They used to, there was Well,
we're talking about now.
Well,
yeah, a lot of shit used to happen, but what's going on now in the world? Would you really want to have your wife live in Gaza or any place where? No, I mean before
war-torn strip of desert.
No, even before the war, where she would have to cover up.
Well, again, that's not. I don't live there. I'm not. It's not my culture.
And you won't judge it.
I'm not going to judge it. No,
what a pussy.
But again, this is not
crazy woke to me.
Okay.
That's where it all went off the rails. When we became so tolerant that we tolerate intolerance. Yeah. I mean, you would never allow something like that to happen in this country. If they proposed a law tomorrow at the LA City Council, women have to cover their face when they go out. I assume you'd be against that.
Well, yes, I would.
He was over his head right there.
They have a math problem. That's the problem with the woke people.
They have
a math problem, which is it's like
Can I ask a question about it?
Let me just finish one quick thought. When Fauci gets hauled in front of Congress and they go, you don't like groups, you don't want sporting events, you don't want bars, you don't want churches. No. How about Black Lives Matter marches? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, what about Black Lives Matter? That's a big group. And he goes, I don't have any thoughts about that. I was like, okay, you're having a math problem here. You just got done saying we couldn't go to a ball game because there are too many people. Yeah. Then you're asked, and you couldn't answer the fucking question.
That's a math people that are breaking store windows. Should we do that? No, don't arrest anybody.
Right. Let me ask this question as an admitted idiot. I'm not a smart man, right? So when you're looking at another, it's very easy to say to our culture.
Maybe
we're looking
this
at our
is why
culture.
your dad wrote you out.
I think we just figured something out. I wouldn't have given you a nickel
either. Let me ask your opinion.
Like these communists.
I want a genuine opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
so
got it.
You're looking at a different culture and assessing our values on a different culture that's not here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if they may not believe in some things that we don't believe in, I can assess values in our culture that I was raised in. Mm-hmm. It's weird to assess values.
He's not saying go there and enforce there. He's saying here we shouldn't allow that.
Right. No. He was saying that you should be against them doing it there.
He was saying in Western cities, in a Muslim neighborhood in London, people are getting
is that what
harassed.
they're talking about?
That's where they started.
Then I'm wrong. Then I take it back.
But
he's not saying they don't have a right to operate however they do in the desert.
I will address this by making maybe an argument the other side makes, which is, well, how are we going to run a society without religion? And you go, well, murder's wrong. And they go, who says murder's wrong?
Yeah,
if there's no religion, I just go, because it's wrong.
Yeah, but it used to, again, not to go backwards, but there were times where people would kill each other's tribes. You go find another tribe, you kill them.
But the whole problem with the left is, a short 122 years ago, a black man couldn't be married.
A short 122.
By this, I misunderstood it. I thought he was talking about.
I'm just saying.
He's also saying you can judge it there as well.
Here's what I'm saying. If you have to go back in time, you're losing the argument.
Agreed with that.
Whatever the argument is. Yeah. Even if it's just you and your woman, you go, remember
old
that time
ancient
6
history,
years
Ralph,
ago?
they call them.
Right, that's what women do. They dip back in time and then try to.
That's why Dove's mother was able to move on so quickly. It was in the past.
Ancient history.
I'm saying I'm an atheist who has some universal rights and wrongs. And if you want to beat a woman for reading, that's a wrong, regardless of the culture.
Yeah, you can't remove all judgment just because they live in a different country, they have their own culture. It's still wrong to hit women in the head if they're wearing a dress.
Well, what if I don't like the dress?
Well, that's a different story.
There's a great clip. The great clip is Ben Affleck flipping out on Bill Maher.
Seen that one. Yeah,
you've seen that one. Yeah. You guys all seen that one?
I haven't seen it.
It's Ben on Bill's show. Okay. Getting all, you kind of realize why him and J-Lo probably didn't work out. Also because, she was with her personal trainer at 5:30 every morning and he was smoking on a balcony, trying to hide from the paparazzi.
I could only imagine.
But could you imagine being married to that?
Dove did a show with J-Lo.
I did a show with her for 2 years. I don't know. I don't know her that well. But I played a cop.
What show?
Show. I was internal affairs.
Yeah. How was she?
She was cool to work with, but I didn't get into, real conversations with her. Every now and then.
No, I just mean, she was the kind of person that's doing Pilates every day at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of
there's
guy.
a guy with a ponytail right in front of her.
Right. And he's a guy who wants a cigarette and a cup of coffee and a Dunkin' Donut, you know, and she's looking at him going, you smell like cigarettes again. He's like, that guy, the Uber guy was smoking, you know, you can smell it on your breath, you know. This is, I have that, him spazzing out.
The meme of him slamming the door on her, it tells me everything now.
I'm not specifically telling you that I disagree with what you think.
I know, and we're obviously not convincing anybody of you.
If you don't understand my argument, your argument is like, black people, they show each other.
That is not my argument. No, it's not. It's based on facts. I can show you a Pew poll of Egyptians. They are not outliers in the Muslim world that say like 90% of them believe death is the appropriate response to leaving the religion. If 90% of Brazilians thought that death was the appropriate response to leaving Catholicism, you would think it was a bigger deal.
I would think it's a big deal no matter what.
Okay, but that's the fact.
You don't. But what I wouldn't do is say it's all Brazilians, or I wouldn't say, well, Ted Bundy did this. Goddamn, these gays are all trying to eat each other.
Okay, let me just give you what you want. There are hundreds of millions of Muslims who are nominal Muslims who don't take the faith seriously, who don't want to kill apostates, who are horrified by ISIS, and we need to defend these people, prop them up, and let them reform.
Dude, you're talking ISIS couldn't fill a AA ballpark in Charleston, West Virginia, and you were making a career out of ISIS.
But no, it's not just ISIS. It's all jihadists. It's global. It's a phenomenon of global jihad.
I think that's the opposite.
There is those things. There's ISIS. There's global jihadists. The question is the degree to which you're willing to say, because I've witnessed this behavior, which we all object to on the part of these people, I'm willing to flatly condemn those of you I don't know and have never met.
No,
this is
not
based
condemning
on
people. It's ideas.
And people who believe in those ideas.
So it's people who believe
based on reality, Ben. We're not making it.
You should make a movie called Good Point Hunting, where he goes out hunting for a good point and can't find one.
Right. How do you like them apples?
I can't find my point.
I think both sides
this fucking Ralph
do a great job at triggering the other side. That's what they're trying to do.
And also, guys from the
welcome to the game.
But nobody argues better than guys from the Boston area. They're like the number one arguers. Because there's some alchemy, something's in the water. They're the right amount of educated without being too educated, where you get up in your own head.
And you'll get a ballpark reference in there every time.
You got a baseball reference.
AA ballpark.
You got you got a little anger, you got a little edge, there's a little street meets college, but not too much college. Meets with maybe a soft palate is shaped different than folks from Arkansas.
How do you like them apples?
The part that I don't understand at all, because again, I'm really stupid, but this country, they figured out a way to basically split us 50-50. Like it's a wild that it's not 60-40, 70-30.
I say it all the time.
It's wild.
Statistically insane.
It's insane, and that's the part that I really would love to understand, how they figured out a way to cleave us down the center.
Sam Harris and Bill Maher, lifelong firebrand Democrats, they called the left aggressively anti-common sense. That was the way they described that far left thinking. And these guys have been firebrands. They both hate Trump.
I think far left and far right are insane, and I think that in the middle there's 80% agreement on most things.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I think.
But there's too much allowance for many things. New York you have a right to fucking defend yourself.
I think the problem is people go,
and you have right
the
to play
far
music
right is this way and the far left is this way, but the far left is much more mid amongst Democrats.
Correct.
It's not, the far right is, sort of Ted Nugent, which isn't really the norm.
Right, although I would say this, I've had Ted Nugent on the SDR show.
I like Ted Nugent.
He makes a lot of sense.
He makes a lot of sense.
Too.
He makes a lot of sense.
On certain things, he's very clear that
but
makes sense.
But he's making a demographic percentage point.
What I'm saying is far left policies are just California policies. They're in the mainstream.
We don't have many far right.
Well, so what they do is they go, these guys, they're flat earthers, or they think Kennedy killed himself or something like that. But that doesn't represent.
There's no state that represents that.
There's more mainstream. That's why the election was lost, by the way, and that's why the left needs to tack toward the right or the middle.
Right. I think we all, I do think that we should move towards ranked candidate elections, because that would bring unification to your message as opposed to polarizing your message.
I agree.
I want diplomat Ralph assassinated.
We're first through the gate.
50.5 versus 49.5 is statistically.
It's insane.
It's also, what's insane too is that what's on the menu is so drastically different from one side to the next.
But that's why ranked candidate voting would make sense, because everyone's message would start going to the center as opposed to trying to just get your extreme vote in.
I want you
so as I said, look, one, I got a pizza. I'm going to do 2 pizzas. One pizza has wheels of sausage on it as a topping, and the other has these cork coasters. Yeah. And then I said, push it out to the people and tell me what they got. And the guy came back with a clipboard and went, split. Yeah. 100% down the middle, 50-50, 100% coasters, 50% coaster, 50% sausage. I'd go, that seems insane that we've split it, right? Yeah. I don't know what. That wouldn't work with peanut M&Ms versus. If you said peanut M&Ms, plain M&Ms, go get it, and it just came back. Statistically, it's a dead heat. Turkey jerky versus beef jerky. Go. It's a dead heat. Lucky Charms versus Fruit Loops. It's a dead. I'd go, this is insane. Right. It can't be a dead. It can't be.
So, but it just shows you that the message is polarized wildly.
Somebody's cooking something.
Yeah, something wild going on.
All right. I'll give you guys a plug. The SDR show on Gas Digital with Ralph and Dove.
Your producer, EP Byron, came from Gas Digital. You remember that?
I know.
Came into
Byron, shout out. SDR was one of my favorite shows to watch.
Thank you very much. And you did the show.
We call that cherry picking, but we just got the pit.
We didn't get the cherry.
Where's the rest of the cherry?
Son of a...
Just showed up.
I did the show for 10 years with Big J, and Jay left back in July. Dove came in September, and it's been a pretty wild ride.
We're up and running, baby.
Yeah. Good luck filling that oversized chair, Big J.
Get that chair from Bill Maher. You'll be
Bill
fine.
Maher's chair. All right. And I'm going to be in Vegas on Thursday doing stand-up over at Kimmel's Club. 2 shows over there. And then Solana Beach doing stand-up there. I think Jay Moore's going to be with me. Medium Jay Moore is going to be with me over there. That'll be January 19th. 2 shows. Covina doing a live podcast there. Paul Rodriguez is going to come out for that one too, January 22nd. It's ScottAdamCrow.com for all live shows. Until next time, it's Adam for Dove and Ralph and Mayhem. Say it. Mahalo.